The following is a live presentation of CBC Sports. The Edmonton Eskimos are on a losing streak, but they still have designs on a first-place finish in the West Division. They would advance their cause with a victory over the BC Lions, rejuvenated in the last month. The Lions are in Edmonton to play the Eskimos at Commonwealth Stadium as the road to the Grey Cup continues on the CFL on CBC. In the first episode of Days of Our Lives, the wealthy owner signed an All-American quarterback. The ratings for the soap opera skyrocketed because with this cast of characters, you never knew what would happen next. A month ago, they signed a new leading man, and the ratings have fallen because under Bob Obilovich, the Lions are down to the serious business of football. Doug Flutie is the starting quarterback as the wealthy owner intended him to be, and the Lions are 2-2 under Obilovich. In Edmonton, the Eskimos are attracting more viewers, most of them trying to figure out what's wrong with the team that lost to Saskatchewan last week and in each of the 2 weeks preceding. Reggie Taylor and Gizmo Williams have been out with injuries during the streak. Williams returns today. Tracy Ham will have to be mobile. When he is, the Eskimos are dangerous, as they are when Craig Ellis is on the receiving end of touchdown passes. He has been 17 times this season. Stu Hill leads the cast of characters on defense, and overall, Joe Faraghelli knows he has the talent on this show. The question is, can they perform on cue? The Eskimos return home today, hoping to snap a 3-game losing streak, while the BC Lions, out of playoff contention, would be happy just to extend the misery of the home team. Welcome to Edmonton, where the Eskimos should have all the motivation they need for this game, and that is simply to prove they are a cohesive team, because there have been some serious suggestions to the contrary recently. There's also the issue of finishing first, and despite the fact the Eskimos have been losing, they still control the race, providing they beat BC today. Now let's hear from Don and Ron.
Thank you, Scott. Hi, everybody. There's no question Joe Faraghelli is happy his team is still in first place, but, Ron, he's concerned about what has happened in the last 3 games and hopes to correct it this afternoon against BC.
Well, no coach wants to lose, but Edmonton, no one expects them to lose. And when they lose 3 in a row, it becomes a big issue here in Edmonton. The biggest thing Joe Faraghelli has to do is get his players to understand, to put all those stories aside, that the battle takes place on the field between the white lines, not in the locker room or in the city. And that's sometimes hard to do.
I remember a comment Faraghelli made earlier in the season. He said, I would much sooner be 9-9 and win the Grey Cup than be 16-2 and finish up the track as we did last year. On the other side of the field, Bob Obilovich has no designs on a Grey Cup this year, but he hopes over the final 3 games to take a look at the nucleus of what he hopes will be a Grey Cup contender next year.
And he gets a chance to evaluate them now, but the biggest thing Obilovich brings to the BC Lions, CFL experience, stability, and understands the league. And I think in those 3 things, that's a big plus for the Lions right now.
The Eskimos and the BC Lions are just about set. Scott?
All right, Don, and what is wrong with the Eskimos? Are they, as some believe, coming apart at the seams? We'll check into it on Live at the Half. And we'll also hear from a very frustrated Argo quarterback, Matt Dunnigan, out of his team's lineup now for the 3rd time this season, the result of an injury he suffered at the Sky Dome last night. You're watching the CFL on CBC.
CFL on CBC. An exclusive presentation of Miller Lite. Goes down great among friends. By Priority Courier, the official courier of the CFL. And by Diet 7-Up. Challenge your taste.
The temperature is only 3 degrees, but with very little wind. It is a pleasant afternoon at Commonwealth Stadium in Edmonton as the Eskimos and BC Lions prepare to do battle with George Black, the referee in charge of today's game. The Edmonton Eskimos preparing to kick off. Ray McElready assigned that task for the Edmonton Eskimos, who hope to snap a 3-game losing streak this afternoon against a team they have already beaten twice this season. The ball is mishandled by Lorenzo Graham. Picks it up, finds some room, and actually gets a pretty good return, running the ball back to the 43-yard line. And that's where the BC Lions will scrimmage 1st and 10 after a 24-yard return by Lorenzo Graham.
Well, Doug Flutie gets that chance now to keep learning the Canadian Football League. This is what he feels that he has done in the past few weeks under Jared Keeling and Bob Obilovich, and he's starting to understand. So this is a pretty good team to get an idea of whether you're up to date, because they can make it rough on you if you're not.
One thing Flutie will do today is probably try to get outside a little more than he has in the past. He tried to roll right, got some blocking help, throws downfield, and a great one-handed catch as Jay Christensen hauls the ball in for a 1st down at the 52 of the Edmonton Eskimos.
Well, we look at the BC Lions and we talk about Doug Flutie. He's the guy they have to contain. But Ray Alexander, with over 1,100 yards outside, he's a big play man. Brian Bedford at 6'4" and about 210 pounds. He has got to use that size inside to get open the way a Ray Elgart does. And if they want to move the ball on the ground, which they seem to want to do, Lorenzo Graham, they've got to get him more involved in it, carrying the ball and catching passes.
1st and 10. Flutie fakes to his left, comes back to his right, and the pass is intercepted. No. Mathis appeared to have it, and it bounced away from him after it was deflected by Alexander.
Pass went incomplete, but on that particular play, you see how fast Doug Flutie is and how quick at deciding to change direction. He just spun and came back, and he threw it a little bit high. But as we mentioned, this Eskimo defense, Francis and Gooch on the outside. I think Colbert wants to have a big game today against the Eskimos. And then conversely, we talk about Alexander. So Francis and Gooch get to mess around with those guys. And Danny Bass has got to try to keep Lorenzo Graham under control, because that defensive line has to contain Flutie.
2nd and 10 from the 52. The pass is thrown in the direction of Alexander, and they're ruling he made the catch. He got his hands under it before he hit the ground. And that will be a 1st down at the 32.
6'4" and about 205 pounds. We watch Flutie. He's going to get the rush. Here comes Danny Bass. He just had to let that go. He couldn't wait, and he got out a little bit low. But as you say, Alexander gets the hands underneath it, and as he's breaking away from Gooch, he gets some separation, and that's the big thing.
One of 5 1,000-yard receivers so far this season in the Canadian Football League. Alexander is the leading pass catcher on the BC Lions. It's 1st and 10 from the 32, and Chris Skinner, a former member of the Edmonton Eskimos, will pick up about 5 yards, battling his way to the 27.
Bob Obilovich yesterday, we had a chance to talk with him. We asked him, what are the strengths of the Lions in order? What would he say? He said, number 1, the strongest thing he thinks they have is their offensive line. They are big and they are young. Secondly is their defensive linebackers, and then thirdly, his offense. So the offense has to move the ball against a pretty good defense if they're going to put enough points on the board to win today.
2nd and 5. Flutie looking, can't find anybody, and will try and run for the 1st down, and he'll be close. But he got a block from Jay Christensen, enabling him, it would appear, to get that 1st down.
Sorry, Don, but he does run the ball very well. He's averaging about 8.5, almost 9 yards when he runs with the football. But as you mentioned earlier, what Bob Obilovich wants to get him outside where he can run if he so desires. But the biggest thing he's got on his side is that quickness, and he's very intelligent. If you notice when he went down there, he got the 1st down and then out of bounds.
Inside the 25-yard line, the BC Lions are 56% at putting it in the end zone. That's not a very good success ratio.
It's not a good success ratio, but the biggest thing about it, it's not that bad when you think of how poorly they played early in the season.
And against the Edmonton Eskimos in 2 previous games, they were 1 for 7 with 3 field goals, and on 3 occasions getting no points at all. This one is taken out of bounds for a 1st down. Darrell Colbert, the former Edmonton Eskimo, making the catch down inside the 5-yard line.
You get a little bit lucky. Watch Flutie when he throws the football. It kind of flutters and it goes high. The interception, what's coming in front? Gooch goes for the interception, but because it's high, it floats over his head, and Colbert, with good concentration, pulls it in and gets out of bounds. But you mentioned that 1 for 7 inside down there. Good statistic, because that's early in the season when they were doing nothing offensively. So you can understand why 56 at this point isn't too bad.
1st and goal. Flutie throwing into the end zone. I think he was just throwing that one away because he was under tremendous pressure. And he was alert enough to realize that he had to fire that one through the end zone.
Well, they had him cornered. He had nowhere to go. You see him roll to his right. Now, he doesn't like it. He sees it coming. But when he starts to go the other way, there's another green jersey coming, so he just throws it away. And as you see, Stuart Hill and the boys arrive on time.
It will be 2nd and goal from the 8-yard line. Joe Farragelli hoping that his team will bounce back from 3 consecutive losses today against the BC Lions. 2nd and goal. Here comes the pressure. Flutie again escapes, looks for the end zone. Ray Alexander right at the goal line tried to go up. He was forced to try and haul that down with one hand as Andre Francis was on top of him. He was unsuccessful, and the BC Lions send out the field goal unit.
Yeah, that was a very, very tough catch. When Flutie's on the far side of the field throwing from the hash mark and throwing an out pattern all the way across, Francis has the opportunity to come in front and get it. So Alexander has to try to cut him off, and as a result, he can't get 2 hands on the ball to make the catch.
Tony Martino will attempt the field goal. Lou Pasaglia, of course, is out of the BC lineup with an injury. They're hoping that he will return before the season ends, but there are some reports that he will not be back. 10:53 remains in the quarter. We'll return after this.
Rather primitive, isn't it?
In Ottawa, percent of football fans tested prefer the taste of Diet 7-Up
Boy, were we thirsty.
over Diet Coke.
Someone tried to take my Diet 7-Up away from me. I'm afraid we'd have to discuss it.
Challenge your taste.
Well, the Edmonton Eskimos today might claim they aren't watching the out-of-town scoreboard, but the result at Ivor Wynne Stadium and the result here could be a combination that would propel the Calgary Stampeders into first place in the West, a point ahead of the Edmonton Eskimos. That's if Calgary wins and the Eskimos lose. The kickoff on the sidelines, and absolutely no room for Todd Smith. And he is brought down at the 28. That's where he fielded the ball, and he had no chance for a return after a 67-yard kickoff.
Tracy Ham comes into the game. If you look at the statistics, 35 touchdowns. That's an awful lot of them. He's had a good year throwing, but he's also back on pace to set another record and beat last year's rushing record. So Tracy Ham's had an outstanding season from an individual standpoint, but their offense has staggered a little bit in the last 3 games.
Movement at the line of scrimmage. This is a free one for Tracy Ham, and on the sidelines he completes the pass to Larry Willis. Willis and Colbert, of course, the 2 principals in the trade orchestrated just a few days ago between the BC Lions and the Edmonton Eskimos.
Good job, Larry! You don't really think Willis wants to have a big game today, do you? I mean, he gets the chance to play.
Offside, BC, number 97.
The Lions,
Penalty
Blake
decline,
Marshall,
first
good
down.
football player. They need him to run now with Reggie Taylor out, but the big man, Craig Ellis, he's been the guy they go to. He's the guy that the Lions have to control today to win. If they stop Ellis, they can win this game.
There was an offside call against the Lions, but the Eskimos got a first down. They declined the penalty. Michael Soles and Blake Marshall are the 2 running backs, and this time it is Michael Soles getting up across the 45 to the 46-yard line. That will be an advance of about 3, maybe 4 yards, depending on where they spot it. It will be 2nd and 6.
While we talk about the linebackers of the Lions, we know that that's the key factor, handling the flex. But Andrew Thomas is a backup, and he's going to come into this game to try to take Craig Ellis out of the football game. And that's why I say if you stop him, you can win. And it may be Thomas' job to do that.
And they're also going to test Lonnie Finch, the cornerback on that left side. They attempted to go over there with Keith Wright, but Ham missed the target. And the Edmonton Eskimos are forced to kick it away. Lonnie Finch playing his first game at that corner spot, and that is usually the case. The opposition will try and find out whether or not he can play.
Anytime you get new people on the corner, you have to test them. But the thing with the Lions, they have so many new people, you can go after just about anybody. But on that corner, you're isolated out there. You're on that island. You're by yourself, so you can find out real quick whether he can play or whether he can't.
3rd down punt. Bounces to Hunter. And of course, Hunter is a former member of the Eskimos who established that league punt return record last year. He runs it back out to the 33-yard line, a run back of 8 yards, and that's where the BC Lions will scrimmage first and 10 at the 34. Scott?
Don, whatever happened to veteran all-star Canadian slot back Tom Richards? He's alive and well. Would like people to know that he wants to play again next season if it's possible to recover from that back surgery. Can you?
Well, I don't know. It's up to nature. You know, it's just got to let it take its course. As of yet, I'm not allowed to bend or twist or anything. We're just trying to really take it easy so that the fusion will come together, as they say. And hopefully we'll take a good long look at it next year at training camp.
Good luck. Hope to see you back in action again.
Thanks a lot.
Don?
Lorenzo Graham, the ball carrier, getting very close to 10 yards as he cut off tackle. Tom Richards last year at this time, Ron, had over 1,000 receiving yards.
And, you know, you take 1,000 yards out of one person. That means the rest of the team has to make up for it. And so far, I don't think they've done that. Craig Ellis has had his year, but here comes that counter backside. Danny Bass comes across as he should, but as you see Clarkson come around, makes the block on him, and that's what enables Lorenzo Graham to pick up close to 10 yards.
It will be 2nd and 1. Lorenzo Graham being assisted to the sidelines. He took a pretty good hit as he was tackled after that 9-yard run. Ryan Hansen comes into the ball game, replacing Graham. And Hansen gets the call and gets the first down. He was one of the players acquired by Bob Ovilovich after taking over as vice president and coach. A deal was made with the Toronto Argonauts. 21-17 now, Calgary leading Hamilton in the 3rd quarter. The Hamilton Ticats in 3rd place in the East, of course, attempting to solidify their position. Calgary Stampeders still with an opportunity to finish first in the West. Pass is complete to Jay Christensen. This is another first down for the BC Lions. Takes the ball to the 53 of the Edmonton Eskimos. An interesting comment Ovilovich made yesterday about Doug Flutie. He said, one of the things I told Flutie when I arrived, forget what happened in the past, concentrate on what's ahead of us. He said, you came into the league, you didn't understand the league, you didn't know our game, you had no training camp experience.
That's just what he told me down here this morning when I was talking with him. I asked him how he's found it. He said, since the change, Bob Ovilovich has taken over and the opportunity to work with him and Jerry Keeling, he's starting to understand the Canadian Football League idea and how you play offense. He said early in the year, we tried to use the National Football League offense. He said, it doesn't work in this league. And that's the big thing. Ovilovich says, forget it. And he didn't hold anything against him earlier. He says what he's done now is he says, I'm learning a little bit each week, each game, he says, and it's going to help me longer down the road. And, you know, that sums it up, and that's just about the way it is.
Ray Alexander is the injured BC Lion, and if you take Alexander out of that BC Lion passing attack, you take away one of their major weapons.
I saw him go out. He started to turn to the outside, and it looked like Andre Francis hit him. I couldn't exactly tell whether he tripped or he got hit. And then the excellent throw by Flutie into the hole, but when I look up, he's still down on the ground. But you can't afford to take him out of the lineup. I mean, this is the big play man for the Lions right now, and a great target for a Flutie or anybody else to throw to at 6'4".
Tony Hunter will come into the ball game to replace Ray Alexander as Doug Flutie takes advantage of this injury to go over and confer with head coach Bob Ovilovich. Edmonton leading Calgary by a single point. A big loss last night for the Saskatchewan Roughriders as they were hammered by the Toronto Argonauts. They are at 8-8, 16 points. Is it possible they could finish 9-9 again?
Sure, why not?
The BC Lions with just 4 wins. And the teams they have beaten, Saskatchewan, Winnipeg, Calgary, Hamilton, and they're tied against the Calgary Stampeders in the very first game of the season. 7:39 is the time remaining in the opening quarter. Well, this injury to Ray Alexander apparently is much more serious than we at first thought. It looked as though they were going to try and get him up, but now they have called for the ambulance. Former teammate Larry Willis over there talking to Ray Alexander. The Edmonton Eskimo team doctor, Dr. Cherry, was also in there assisting as the injury took place directly in front of the Edmonton bench. But earlier, Ron, about 2 plays back, we noticed that Alexander came back to the huddle holding his arm in a somewhat unusual fashion. And he may have had an initial hit that caused him some problems, and now this one. But the good thing is that he is up. They've got him up on his feet. You're always concerned when they bring the stretcher out and don't move a player that it's a back injury or a spine injury of some sort.
Yeah, I've been trying to watch down there to see what it is. It didn't seem to be that. He was talking, you know, he was talking to them and so on. And it had to be a freak injury because it was nothing, no big deal. It happened almost right in front of us. I really didn't see him get hit, but he's having a little bit of problem. So I think this is more precautionary than anything, and I think it's a good idea.
Alexander with over 1,100 yards this season for the BC Lions. Nine touchdown receptions. And he will be replaced by Tony Hunter, a former member of the Calgary Stampeders. He played in the National Football League with the Dallas Cowboys. And he is being counted upon to really help this BC club become a contender in the 1991 season.
Yeah, and that's pretty hard for any person to do, but he is one person that they was looking to. Because of experience, they are hurting so bad for experience on that BC Lions team. Don, just to tell you, on this 36-man roster, they got 23 players in their first year with the Lions. But out of that 23, 19 are in their first year of pro football. You shouldn't even be close if trying to win football games against a team like the Eskimos with that many rookies. 19 first-year pros. That's very, very hard. That's why Alexander is so important to them.
On first down, Ryan Hansen takes the ball, breaks one tackle, and gets inside the 50-yard line. Let's go down to the sidelines and Scott.
Eskimos really have to win because it looks like the Calgary Stampeders might in Hamilton. In the third quarter this afternoon, Tony Cherry plunges over for another Stampeder touchdown. Now the Stampeders lead the Ticats 27-17. Stampeder win combined with an Eskimo loss would move Calgary into first place.
And the interesting thing about a Calgary win this afternoon means that it could come down to first place being decided when the Eskimos meet the Stampeders at McMahon Stadium in the final game of regular season play.
Would that be something? I mean, I don't think anybody expected the Eskimos to be in this position of being challenged for first place this late in the year. But a few years ago, I thought that Eskimos were far and away better on the field than any other team. But right now, it's a strange situation going on. Edmonton can handle Calgary. Saskatchewan can handle Edmonton. And Calgary handles Saskatchewan. And BC plays them all well, but don't beat any of them. It's tough.
BC number 67. Penalties declined. Third down.
The holding call against Larry Clarkson is declined. The pass was incomplete. It was intended for Brian Bedford. So Tony Martino stands at his own 45-yard line for this third down punt. Henry the Gizmo Williams back in the lineup, the Edmonton Eskimos this afternoon. And of course, with his return, there is a buzz of anticipation in the crowd at Commonwealth Stadium. He takes it at his own 8-yard line. And Williams is surrounded as he got to the 15. I was going to say Mike Clemens in Toronto and Henry the Gizmo Williams have certainly entertained throughout the league this year with their ability on punt returns.
Well, you can just feel it, you know, in most of the stadiums when Clemens and Williams are playing, that when they see them back there to catch that kick, you can just feel everybody anticipates the big return. In most cases, they don't let them down too often.
First and 10 Edmonton. They are at their own 15-yard line. 6:10 is the time remaining in the opening quarter. The second man through gets the ball. Michael Soule picked up about 3 yards. Reggie Taylor is out of the Edmonton Eskimo lineup this afternoon, and they certainly miss his explosiveness. Scott?
Well, Don, I just had a word with the physicians who were examining Ray Alexander as he was being taken off the field, and it was not quite as serious as it looks. The problem is he has snapped the cartilage off his rib cage on this side of his body. So he had a lot of trouble breathing. He was in great pain. He'll need a few weeks to recover, but he will be okay.
The Eskimos going with that no huddle offense, and the pass thrown to Blake Marshall, who was unable to haul it in, so the Eskimos are forced again to send out the punting unit. The Eskimo offense just hasn't looked as sharp as we saw it earlier in the year.
No, you know, there's a lot of reasons, there's a lot of theories, I guess, and one of the reasons is that you can't stay sharp for 18 straight weeks. You are going to have some downtime. The only thing you'd hope is that your downtime would be a little bit earlier in the year. At this stage of the season, you want everything to be crisp, be ready to go, and make that run from now to the end of November. So I don't know, you know, whether maybe they're having their troubles now, but they're too good a football team to stay down long.
Tony Hunter waits for it at the 45. And Tony Hunter brings it back to the Edmonton 50-yard line. And that's where the Lions will scrimmage 1st and 10 when we return with 5:14 left in the opening quarter.
Cup 90 in Vancouver. Don't miss it.
I like Diet 7-Up. I like to hit people. If I had to give one of them up, I'd say no.
In BC, 64% of football fans tested preferred the taste of Diet 7-Up over Diet Coke.
I'm really very nice.
Challenge your taste.
You know, I talked about the Edmonton Eskimos and Calgary Stampeders meeting in the final game of the season. The BC Lions could play the role of spoilers for both teams. They take on the Eskimos this afternoon, and then next week they're at home to Calgary. Doug Fluty's in big trouble. Great speed by Enos Jackson in tracking down Doug Fluty for a huge loss back to the 40-yard line. A loss of 18 yards.
When you have Stu Hill coming at you from the front and you're looking at him trying to buy some time, you're not going to have the ability to outrun a guy like Enos Jackson coming from behind. No contest. Jackson's got tremendous speed anyway, and Fluty has nowhere to go, and you saw what happened. He just jumps on his back, and it's a big, big loss. And one that I'm sure Coach Obilovich would have rather not seen.
Free agent who joined the team in 1989. Jackson dropping Fluty for a loss of 18. Raw play with Chris Skinner. He got back to the line of scrimmage, and that's about all. So on 3rd and 28, the BC Lions are forced again to send out the punting unit.
The tough thing in this series, it isn't so much that they don't move the sticks or anything. They just go ahead and punt the football, but they lost 20 yards of field position on that sack. And when you're a team like the Lions that's not experienced, haven't won many football games, you need to play as much of that game as possible in the other team's end. And right now, they're going to be at around midfield probably when Giz gets done returning his kick.
Gizmo waits for the ball at his own 35-yard line. Gizmo with a couple of fakes trying to get to the outside, but good coverage by the BC Lions prevents him from going anywhere. Scott?
Well, Don, in Hamilton, the Ticats' money receiver has come through for the Ticats. Tony Champion with a touchdown catch from quarterback Mike Kerrigan. The Ticats now within 4 of the Stampeders. 28-24 the score. And here is the scoring play. Kerrigan to Tony Champion for the major score. And it looks like it could be quite a finish in the Steel City.
Well, the Ticats, as we witnessed last week at Lansdowne Park in Ottawa, have been involved in some rather dramatic finishes this season. Craig Ellis, the pass receiver, a penalty flag against Anthony Drawhorn at the 45-yard line. He was defending against Craig Ellis, and that draws a penalty flag as they get their feet tangled up.
Drawhorn tries to cut in front of him here for the football, and he does. They get their legs tangled up, and they both fall down. I guess the referee has to rule that Ellis catches the football because it was over Drawhorn's head, and that's the reason for the pass interference call.
Craig Ellis with 17 touchdown receptions. Of course, a new record was established for the Canadian Football League last night by Darrell Smith of the Toronto Argonauts. He caught 3 and now has 19 for the year. Keith White was the intended receiver. The old mark of 18 was established by Brian Kelly of the Edmonton Eskimos, equaled by David Williams. He was with the BC Lions, and now broken by Darrell Smith, and Craig Ellis also has an opportunity to break the old mark and perhaps break the one established by Darrell Smith, but not this time.
Well, that time the Lions got locked into man-to-man coverage again. Draw horn on Ellis, and as we're going to see in the replay, Ellis is going to go right by him. Tracy Ham needs to throw this ball a little further out in front because Ellis has him beaten. I think where you're asking a lot to draw horn to stop Ellis. Look, he's already closed that gap on him. Now it's straight speed. He's behind him. He looks over the shoulder. He can't locate the ball. And when Drawhorn gets his hands on it, the ball slips through his hands, but he closed that gap. You know, when you chase the defensive back, you want to close that gap between the two of you, then use your speed to outrun him, and that's what he did.
McAreedy punting from his own 50-yard line. Hunter had moved back into the end zone, and now will let that ball bounce into the end zone and out for a single point.
Pretty good move. He's going to let that thing come to the end zone, give him that single point, and not get the offense bad field position. He's going to get it out to the 35 now, so he was hoping that thing would get to the end zone.
A 46-yard punt by Ray McAreedy for the first point of the ball game for the Edmonton Eskimos. Bob Obilovich in his 5th game as head coach of the BC Lions. It was interesting yesterday when we discussed what his exact position is with BC. He said he is in total control of the football operation.
Yeah, and that's very good for him, and it's a very good situation to have because he's a very astute individual, very intelligent as far as how the Canadian Football League operates, ceiling, salary caps, and all that. He understands that, and that's what they need.
3 receivers to the left side, and throwing to the left side is Flutie. But it was way over the head of Tony Hunter. Hunter into the ball game as a replacement for the injured Ray Alexander.
He had nobody open over there, and when Hunter tried to break up the sideline, I think Flutie just threw that away, threw it all the way into the bench. He took no chances on it being intercepted.
Second and 10 BC. They lead by a score of 3-1. 2:27 remaining in the opening quarter. The ball is at the 35-yard line. Sun breaking through now at Commonwealth Stadium on a cool October afternoon. The temperature of 3 degrees from the shotgun. Flutie throwing for Bedford. He makes the catch for a first down up at the 46.
Come after Flutie with the full blitz. When I say full blitz, that is the linebackers coming. And then they leave that safety man, Norman, back in the middle to just kind of roam free. But too much of a cushion. Bedford was able to work himself free on the out. And Flutie got rid of it before that blitz got it.
1:58 remaining in the opening quarter. It's 1st and 10 BC. The Lions at their own 46-yard line. Hunter goes wide to the left. 3 receivers to the left. Here's the handoff to Lorenzo Gray, and then right into the arms of Leroy Blue.
Boy, did Blue play that nice. He took the blocker on and just got rid of him and then smacked right to the left. Number 89 standing up. Here comes the block. Missed him. He just stepped right inside of the block of Rocco Romano, and he just threw him aside, and he was there to make the hit. Leroy Blue is really a linebacker. When you see him up on that line, he's been playing that defensive end spot. He's not really the size for it, but he's got the strength and quickness.
The Eskimos have 6 down linemen dressed for this game, and one of the plans of Farragelli was to rotate all 6 because of the mobility of Doug Flutie. Hunter on the receiving end of the Flutie throw, very close to the midfield strike.
One thing that Flutie has had to do today, he's been getting a lot of pressure. He hasn't been able to step and follow through like a classic quarterback. But watch Flutie when he throws the football. He's got the feet planted firmly on the ground, and he's got a strong enough arm to get it in there because he's been looking at those green jerseys almost every time he's been back to pass.
From the midfield stripe, the BC Lions are going to gamble. 3rd and about 1 yard. Flutie will keep. He got across the midfield stripe and should have the first down, depending upon where they spot it. But from here, it looks as though it is the first down, and George Black, the referee, signals that it is, in fact, the BC first down. 3 seconds remaining in the quarter.
Well, we know one thing. If we don't see any backs in the backfield, we know either Flutie's going to carry it or throw it, right? I mean, so that's what they do. Try to get all those linebackers to maybe see those fixed receivers and not come up on the line so fast. And then, as we said, he's got a big, young, strong offensive line. And if they can get off the ball, he'll get a yard and a half.
On 1st and 10, and what should be the final play of the quarter, sidearm throw to Bedford, and he will have a gain of about 7, maybe 8 yards before being forced out of bounds. And that is the final play of the opening quarter, with the Lions leading 3-1.
In Hamilton, the Ticats have taken the lead over Calgary. Derek McAdoo has scored the go-ahead points on this reception late in the third quarter. A 6-yard catch by McAdoo, who was shaken up. It is okay. It's 31-28 Ticats. They lead the Stamps for the first time in this game, Don.
We talked about the BC Lions perhaps playing the role of spoilers for the first place aspirations of the Eskimos and the Stampeders. Maybe it'll be the Hamilton Ticats, because they have a game against the Edmonton Eskimos before the season ends.
Every game's important right now for the standings, either first, second, or third, but it's close everywhere.
That was a quarterback draw that misfired, and Doug Flutie is dropped by Stuart Hill back at the 51-yard line. Statistically, in the opening quarter, the BC Lions had the edge in almost every department, including a whopping 11:09 to 3:51 in time of possession.
Well, the Eskimos have been going in there 2 and out. Only that long pass interference called against Anthony Drawhorn really got him any field position. But the problem is you got to put points on the board when you have that big of a time difference. That means you're controlling the ball, but you're not going anywhere.
Todd Smith is back with Henry Williams for this third down kick. But Williams will field it back at the 6-yard line. And again, the BC Lions with good coverage on their punt return unit, restricting Williams to a 4-yard run back.
I was kind of a little bit surprised that I didn't see a flag. I thought the guy can't see his number, but blocked below the waist on as Gizmo was trying to turn the corner. You know, if you get a guy like Giz outside, it doesn't take much, not much of an opening. Right here, watch Belanger coming downfield. Well, I don't get the chance to see it, but he gets in on the hit. He's their leading tackler on special teams anyway. He does a good job for them. He's out of McGill, I believe.
Leroy Blue came in hard on Robin Belanger. The Tracy Ham pass falls short of the mark. Larry Willis was the intended receiver. It will be 2nd and 10.
Norm Jefferson covering for the Lions. 2nd and 10.
That says a lot about why the Eskimos have struggled and lost their last 3 games. They haven't been able to score in the opening quarter. And they're going to be scored. No, they're not. There's a penalty flag. This is a face mask call. I was going to say it's 2 and out again for the Eskimos, but this face mask call will keep the drive alive.
That was a weird play right here. It didn't look like anybody was ready to go when the ball was snapped. Both teams sort of stood around, and no doubt about what happened. You saw that face mask. Alondra Johnson, number 45, the linebacker.
First down.
With that left hand around making the tackle and grab that face mask. That's a tough penalty to take. You know, as you say, it would have been 2 and out and good field position. Now they got to start over.
Again with a no-huddle offense. Ham has the team up and over the ball at the 28, 1st and 10. There's that hitch screen. Willis trying to get outside, and he fumbles the ball. Willie Pless has got it. Paul Wetmore made the tackle, and Willie Pless comes up with the football.
Get that ball outside, get one-on-one coverage. And Larry Willis, they really like him as an athlete. He's got the quickness and tremendous speed if he gets free, but let's look at it. There's the throw. All right, here he comes, number 12, Norm Jefferson. Kind of looks like he steps around him. Whitmore is going to be the guy. Knocks it out with that left hand, and Willie Pless just knocks it out of bounds. So they dodge a bullet with that face mask call and got excellent field position.
Willie Pless, Alondra Johnson, and Doug Landry. The strength of this BC Lion team defensively, according to Coach Bob Labilivich. He's very happy with his linebacking contingent. The fake inside. Flutie throwing deep. Oh, just off the fingertips of Lorenzo Graham.
Yeah, he ought to hit the ground. He should have caught that football. That's a pretty well thrown ball. Flutie just set back. They ran the wide receiver to the post and then break Graham upfield. Now watch him throw it. He thinks he's got it, but he doesn't have it.
Premature celebration by the BC quarterback as he now brings the team out of the huddle on 2nd and 10. The ball at the 33-yard line.
Just watching the Eskimos today, the Lions have to stay out at 2nd and 10 because the Eskimos are lining them up. They're bringing them all. They're loading it up. Let's see if they come at him again on this 2nd and long situation. Here they come with a halfback blitz coming.
Quickly over the middle to Hunter. He loses the football. It's still loose. I think Chris Skinner was the man who pounced on the ball.
So you can almost see the halfback blitz coming. Mark Norman walked out of the middle. He walked over to the left side of the defense where Mark Mathis, number 13, was on the line of scrimmage. And they come, and then they get into the middle. He does. He dumps it under real quick to Hunter, but he loses the football, and it rolls around. But I don't know how the Eskimos missed it, but you're right. Skinner finally did get it. But that 2nd and long, they're going to be in trouble. They're going to have to block too many of them.
1st and 10 from the 20. The handoff to Chris Skinner, and Skinner only gets a yard before he's dropped by Larry Ruck.
Stop by the Eskimos, no gain.
Middle linebacker Danny Bass also there on the stop. 12:18 is the time remaining. Bob Abilovich said one of the things he attempted to do when he arrived in BC was instill some confidence in his offensive unit, and of course he also put some motion into their offense, something they didn't have previously.
Yeah, they're slotbacks. Everybody just stood in one place, didn't utilize the rules, and he's trying to get that in, and that's a big plus for any offense.
Flutie looking, throwing, incomplete. It was intended for Colbert, but Flutie, if he had to do it again, probably wouldn't have thrown that ball because there were 3 green jerseys right where he threw it.
The biggest thing coming to the inside. Now you see Keith Gooch, but look, Mark Norman's in there also, number 23, to free safety, and there's a linebacker in front of you. You're not going to complete too many of those.
Darryl Colbert, of course, hoping to play well against his former teammate. So is Tony Hunter. Larry Willis on a similar mission for the Edmonton Eskimos. Tony Martino will be attempting a 27-yard field goal, and it is good. So with 11:26 remaining in the 2nd quarter, the BC Lions extend their lead to 6-1.
It's a wild affair at Ivor Wynn now. The Stampeders have regained the lead. Tony Cherry scoring in a 5-yard run. This was late in the 3rd quarter. They're now in the 4th quarter. Stampeders lead 35-31, Don.
And here it's 6-1. The BC Lions leading the Edmonton Eskimos, and the Eskimos will start this drive from their own 30-yard line. Todd Smith with a 10-yard run back after that 50-yard kickoff.
We talk about the Lions here. Why is he a good special teams guy, their leader? Here's why. You just got to have a little desire. Go down the field. Look, he splits 2 green jerseys, finds the ball carrier, and then brings him down. That's just individual effort and the desire to do what's being asked of you, and that's a good job.
1st and 10 Edmonton from the 30-yard line. Low throw. Ellis was the target. It will be 2nd and 10. Some of the fans beginning to get on the Eskimo offense, and that's a reaction that we have not heard for a long time.
Yeah, that's why they're going to the hurry-up offense. That way it quiets the fans down faster and lets them get on with the game. But right now they're not sharp. That's for sure. You see it right there. 2 punts, a fumble, and a single, and 4 shots.
And they'll be forced to kick it away again as Willie Pless gets the sack.
You know, it's interesting. Yesterday in our talk with Bob Abilovich, we asked about his strength, and he said the line and the linebackers. He said Willie Pless now is playing football as well as the first year he came to Toronto. We've seen him recover a fumble. We've seen him make tackles. Now we see him run right over. I think it's Michael Cole. Just took him on, drove him back, and made the sack on Tracy Hammond. A guy like Pless can have a tremendous influence on young football players with that kind of an effort.
The Eskimos have not lost 3 in a row since 1982. They have not lost 4 in a row since way back in 1971. Excellent kick by McAreedy. Hunter has to go all the way back to his own 35, looking for some blocking out, but there's a penalty flag in the play.
Well, I don't know about this call. Ryan Hansen's the guy that made the block, and it looked like a heck of a block to me. I don't know if we'll see it, but
I was just going to say, a tremendous block thrown by the BC Lions, but they're ruling it a holding call against BC after a 57-yard kick and a 3-yard return by Tony Hunter. We'll find out from George Black who the guilty person was.
Illegal block, BC number 34, first down.
Well, Ryan Hansen was the man who was charged with that illegal block. It looked like a good one. Dave Fennell, stalwart of the Edmonton Eskimo defensive line from 74 to 83 with his name on the Wall of Fame here at Commonwealth Stadium. Inducted into the Hall of Fame in Hamilton this weekend along with Jim Corrigal, Marv Luster, Eagle Keys, and Ken Preston. Jay Christensen on the sidelines. Taken out of bounds, but not before he picked up a first down at the 37-yard line.
This is the surprise. Tracy Ham has not moved that club in a little over a quarter and a half, and right now Steve Taylor, number 10, is warming up. And tell you, he's starting to throw this early. They may be thinking of making a quarterback change right now because they got to get that offense on track. Pretty good stats for the little that he's played.
Doug Flutie with another completion and another first down to Brian Bedford up at the 54-yard line.
We've seen Bedford go down the field and have a chance on a couple outs. He's caught a couple patterns breaking to the outside. Now he just drives down the field, plant that outside foot, turn around. Flutie drills it right between the linebackers, right into Bedford's hands. Well, I'll tell you, you get a big target like Bedford inside, sure makes quarterback's job a little easier.
First and 10, the ball is at the 54, 9:24 remaining in the opening half. BC in front by a score of 6-1. Flutie was looking downfield, saw that his man was covered, forced to run with the ball, and he'll pick up 2 yards.
This is where not playing together hurts. You saw right here, Flutie sprints away from the action. Number 80, Hunter, went down the field, turned to the inside, and started back to the corner. Well, there was a defensive back there waiting on him, and he didn't make the turn fast enough to come back for Flutie, so Flutie had to run. But that's just playing together, and you understand that. It takes a while for that to come, and Hunter hasn't been there that long.
Second and 8 BC. Here comes that pressure. The Lions do a pretty good job of picking it up, and Flutie picks out Jay Christensen for another first down. This product of the Okanagan Sun, acquired from the Calgary Stampeders, has been a key receiver in this ball game today for BC.
Comes from the right side to the left. As you say, they do a good job of picking the blitz up, and Christensen just runs across, and he forces number 29, Enos Jackson, to run with them. They were in man coverage, where Christensen went, Jackson went. Good job of picking it up for him. That strength is up front, that blocking that offensive line.
Christensen, good size, 6'4", 215 pounds. First and 10, BC at the 44-yard line. Penalty flag. This could be a procedure call, or is it a time count violation?
I think it's time count.
Time count violation, BC number 22.
What you
first
had
down
was
repeated.
Enos Jackson, 29, was coming on a halfback blitz, and he saw it. Flutie saw it. He tried to audible out of it, but he took too long.
Stuart Hill has injured his wrist, it would appear, and he has been replaced by Michel Bourgeois. I mentioned earlier there are 6 defensive linemen dressed for this game. Rob Davison and Michel Bourgeois, the backups to Stuart Hill, Mike Walker, Brett Williams, and Leroy Blue. And Coach Faragelli has been rotating them during the course of the game. Flutie throwing short, looking for Brian Bedford, but he had to get rid of that ball in a hurry as he had 2 people in pursuit.
He had a lot of pressure at him coming. He sprinted to his left, but the pressure was coming from the backside, and Leroy Blue was the guy coming from the pressure. He escaped that. Even if Bedford would have caught the football, he'd have lost yardage, so he just very wisely let it hit the ground.
Second and 15 BC.
Not many people can do that. That's a little harder to do than a lot of people think it is.
That shows the athletic ability of Doug Flutie. Second and 15. That's what the Lions have done on second down conversions. And here's another one that's successful to Jay Christensen. Well, I said earlier he's been the key figure in their passing attack with Ray Alexander out of the lineup. He hauls in the Doug Flutie throw for a 49-yard touchdown.
Well, when you lose your big receiver, you always hope somebody steps to the front, and he's got 7 touchdowns, but I think now he's got 6 catches today. That was well timed. Bedford went down the middle, and he drew Mark Norman out of there, and Christensen just came right across into the hole behind the linebackers, and Flutie found him. Very, very well executed.
And this time, Doug Flutie can celebrate a touchdown. Earlier, he thought he had one to Lorenzo Graham, but Graham could not hang on to the ball after he had maneuvered in behind the defender. So Tony Martino will attempt the point after with 7:24 remaining in the first half. And the BC Lions now lead by 12 points. And we'll be back with the BC kickoff right after this. Jay Christensen enjoying his best season ever. He scored 22 points against Toronto on September the 1st, including a CFL record 2 two-point conversions. Today, a 49-yard touchdown pass as the BC Lions lead 13-1. Henry Williams on the return, looking for that hole. And it opened for a moment, but then was closed off just as quickly. A 27-yard run back. The BC Lions moved 84 yards in 7 plays. And the capper, the big pass from Flutie to Christensen.
Tell you, a very impressive drive also. I mean, he threw that ball, he threaded it right over the linebacker, right into the hole, and Christensen just took out.
Casey Hand stays in at quarterback, throws the pass to the sideline, and Keith Wright has the first down.
Get that separation. They said they were going to try to test out Lonnie Finch today, and Keith Wright drives him down and comes back, and he took it deep enough because when a quarterback rolls out, he can't throw the ball on time. So by the time Tracy Ham gets out there, took it deep enough to where he's no problem getting open.
The Eskimos going again with that no-huddle offense. Penalty flags all over the place. Deep throw, incomplete, intended for Willis. Procedure call against the Edmonton Eskimos. Scott?
On here at the Edmonton bench, bad news for the Eskimos. Their defensive leader, Stuart Hill, is out for this game and probably then some. They're pretty well certain he has broken the big bone in his wrist. We'll confirm it, obviously, with an X-ray at some point later today, but it's obvious he will not be back in this game.
Isn't that the same wrist that he injured before?
Yeah, I think it is. And, well, you can't afford to lose a guy like Stuart Hill at this stage of the, or at any stage of the season, but with the way things have gone right now and everything on the line in the next few weeks.
The Lions, with that incomplete pass, decline the penalty. It's 2nd and 10 Edmonton. The ball is at the BC 44-yard line. Marco Sintar, the intended receiver, it's incomplete. The 44-yard line is the deepest the Eskimos have driven this afternoon. If you had suggested prior to the start of the ball game that there would only be 6:40 remaining in the first half before the Eskimos would get inside the 50-yard line of the BC Lions, a lot of people would have raised a rather skeptical eyebrow.
Yeah, I'd have probably been one of them. You know, I think they got a pretty powerful offense, but today it just hasn't shown up. And I don't know whether you want to credit the Lions or say that the Eskimos just aren't executing, but there again is another thing that shouldn't happen.
Well, I think it's a combination of both. Well executed, and the BC Lions playing well. They blocked that Ray McAreedy field goal attempt and will take over with 6:17 remaining in the half.
Rather primitive, isn't it?
In Ottawa, percent of football fans tested prefer the taste of Diet 7-Up.
Boy, were we thirsty.
Over Diet Coke.
Someone tried to take my Diet 7-Up away from me. I'm afraid we'd have to discuss it.
Challenge your taste.
CFL Priority Courier Player of the Week. The offensive player for week number 14 is Hamilton's Paul Osbaldiston. The Wizard of Ozzie once again put his best foot forward as the Hamilton Tiger Cats put the boots to the Edmonton Eskimos 25-23. Kicker Paul Osbaldiston was a scoring machine with 19 points. He was perfect with 6 field goals, including a career-best 56-yarder. Paul Osbaldiston, CFL Priority Courier Offensive Player of the Week.
People who think all motor oils are...
Well, that blocked field goal here. Tony Simmons, number 97, gets penetration. Watch his arm go up. The big right hand blocks it. Got in between Rod Connup and got upfield to get that hand up. You can't have penetration. Tony Simmons got it. 6'4", 260, a big guy.
He came to the Lions from Saskatchewan. Played at Tennessee. 6'4", and he used his height to advantage to knock down that field goal attempt. At the end of the third quarter, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, who have already clinched first place in the East, leading by a score of 17-13. Calgary now ahead of Hamilton, 42-34 in the fourth quarter. There was a no-yards call against the Edmonton Eskimos on that block punt. That's the reason for the ball being scrimmaged from the 50-yard line. Lorenzo Graham, the ball carrier, and he'll be very close to another BC first down.
I don't know if we get a chance to look at it, but watch the lead block by number 34, Ryan Hansen. This is why Coach Obilovich wanted what? The lead blocker, boy, just cuts down Larry Ruck, and that's pretty hard to do because Larry Ruck's off a good football player, but Ryan Hansen has got the size. You know, he's 6'1", about 215 pounds. Good lead block.
Well, of course, Obilovich had Ryan Hansen in Toronto before he was fired as coach of the Argos.
That's why he wanted him. He knew him. You know, when you get good young players, listen, Ryan Hansen was a #1 draft choice a few years ago, I think by Winnipeg. But the thing is, he hasn't had that opportunity to play much, so Coach Obilovich would know about him from coaching him.
Played college ball in the United States at Slippery Rock. How many people know where Slippery Rock is?
I do. I know exactly where it is. If you drive from Erie to Pittsburgh on Interstate 79, you will see the sign to Slippery Rock.
There's your geography lesson for today.
That's just like going home. I don't know where a lot of them are, but I know where Slippery Rock is.
So it's just short of a first down. Flutie will keep, and he'll get the first down. You know, earlier we saw Jay Christensen score that 49-yard touchdown. He already has 5 receptions today for 100 yards and a touchdown. All of last season with Calgary, he caught 5 passes for just 59 yards and no touchdown.
I think he'd probably like it here a lot better when he gets 5 in one day and a touchdown and 100 yards. I tell you what, he's got nice hands. What I've noticed, he just reaches up and cradles that ball. You don't hear that thud. He can't play in the band. His hands are too nice. I mean, he just cradles it in.
First and 10 from the 48-yard line. Flutie again in trouble against that pressure, and he tried to dump it off to Lorenzo Graham, the crowd reacting, but Graham was an eligible receiver, and he was the player that Flutie directed that ball towards. It would have been a sensational catch had he grabbed it, but he was still an eligible receiver.
Yeah, that's why the fans are upset, but you don't have to catch it. All if you throw it in the direction of the receiver, he may have bounced it at his foot, but number 28 is eligible to catch a pass.
Larry Clarkson, who was back trying to block for Flutie, isn't.
No.
He didn't throw towards him.
He's probably trying to throw over him. I mean, Clarkson is a moose. He's 6'8", 300 pounds.
From the shotgun formation on 2nd and 10. Flutie with time to the sidelines to Christensen. It's going to be his day, it would appear, here at Commonwealth Stadium.
You see Mathis a little bit upset. What he's saying is that Christensen pushed off. Well, I'll tell you what, you go to any football team in the CFL, and all the slot backs are pushing off. You know, they call a lot of defensive interference, but the slot backs, that's how they're getting that separation. So I don't blame him. Christensen's having a big day. He's hot. Go to him.
They're going to measure to determine whether or not this is a first down, but 6 receptions today for Jay Christensen. This could be a career type of performance today for the 27-year-old who played junior football with the Okanagan Sun. Not quite a first down, but they are going to go after it on 3rd and inches.
I was just looking over to the BC Lions bench to see what kind of signal they give. I think Flutie's going to carry this.
3rd and 1, BC with the ball on the
You point at the quarterback and go like that, I think he's going to carry it on a wedge right up the middle.
Now the BC Lions have a 57% success rate on third down gambles. They've been good on their third down gambles so far today. I think that percentage rate was much lower earlier in the season. Flutie will keep. He'll get another BC first down.
Yeah, you know, another thing on that third down thing, 57% is a very, very low number for a football team. But you have to remember that early in the year when the BC Lions were losing, they faced a lot of 3rd and 10s late in the game, and they just was, you know, trying to win and move the football. And that all counts against you. But third down and 1, you want 100% efficiency. That's what you want. 50's a little low.
Earlier in the year, they were gambling on 3rd and 6 early in a football game on many occasions.
Yeah, and, you know, that's going to get you beat more than it's going to help you.
First and 10, BC. The ball is at the 36-yard line. Flutie throwing deep, well over the head of Lorenzo Graham. Similar type of play to the one he ran earlier where Graham was open but couldn't hang on to the throw. This time he wasn't open.
Yeah, he's going down the field. Danny Bash ran stride for stride, plus the fact Mark Norman sitting back in the middle comes over to help him, and he was not open. You're right. So Flutie very wisely threw it away, but he is getting pressure. They're coming after him every chance they get. 2nd and long, 2nd and 10 right now. Let's see who's going to come this time.
This is the 10th game that Doug Flutie has started for the BC Lions this year. 3:23, the time remaining in the half. The Eskimos are showing blitz. Here they come. Flutie throws to the sidelines. Jay Christensen takes it out of bounds for another BC first down.
Well, you see Mark Norman. He's, you know, Flutie can see this coming. He sees Norman walk right out of the middle over to Mathis's side. Mathis comes on the blitz, and he just throws it to Christensen, who runs right out in the flat, forces Mark Norman to come a long way. He can't get there that fast.
We talked earlier about the soft hands of Jay Christensen. There was a perfect example.
The ball just kind of landed in him and just cradled it in and turn upfield was the important thing.
First and 10 from inside the 25. Pitch to Lorenzo Graham. Ryan Hansen with the lead block, but there are too many green and gold jerseys there. And he is stopped at the line of scrimmage. 2:51, the time remaining in the first half. Updating other CFL action this afternoon. Calgary leads Hamilton 42-34 in the fourth quarter. And at Winnipeg Stadium, the Blue Bombers are ahead of Ottawa 17-13 in the fourth quarter. And here with 2:49 remaining in the second quarter, it's 13-1. BC in front of Edmonton.
It almost looks like BC's not going to give Edmonton the football to play with today. They just haven't had it. And when they do have it, they're not doing anything with it.
3 receivers left. Flutie throwing left for Bedford. First down at the 5. And Bedford took a tremendous hit. He's hurt, but he managed to hang on to the ball.
This one, they cross Christensen and Bedford. Both come to the inside. They're on the same side of the field, both slots. Christensen goes across the middle. Bedford comes into the slot, to the angle or slot just outside. Flutie takes his choice. He hits Bedford, and he took a heck of a hit from Keith Gooch.
A gain of 20 yards, but Obilovich has to be concerned. He has already lost Ray Alexander for the afternoon and probably for the season. And now Bedford appears to be in a great deal of pain after taking that hit from Gooch down at the 5-yard line.
You can tell just by the way his hands are being used right there. He's hurting a little bit. Just got to hope that he did get it in the knee. But watch, he breaks to the inside. Now the ball's thrown right into the hole. Here comes the hit. The leg is planted in the ground when Gooch hit it. That's what I was hoping. It might just be a Charlie horse. Look at the hit. He had all the weight on the foot in the ground. That's serious.
They send those 3 receivers to the left. And that formation seems to be causing problems for the Eskimo secondary. They're looking at the right leg of Bedford, and as you said, Ron, he had that leg planted, all the weight on that leg when he took the hit from Keith Gooch.
You could almost see in a replay that the leg was bent backward. And, you know, I think everybody understands your leg does not bend that way at the knee, and that's a tough thing. The only thing I was hoping that maybe he didn't have that leg on the ground. tell you what, let's see. I hope that leg was off the ground when at the moment of impact. That's what you have to hope.
You know, when you look at that receiving core of the Lions, Brian Bedford, 6'4", 205. Christensen, 6'4", 215 pounds. Ray Alexander, 6'4", 203. Darrell Colbert, 5'10", 175. He's the only player under 6 feet.
Well, we'll have to get rid of him, get in a taller guy. That's 6'4". We got to get them all in there. You know what? Carrying him off took one heck of a hit. The only thing we can hope is that at the actual impact that foot wasn't anchored in the ground. We hope it's off the ground a little bit.
Coming right there.
That's tough. First game today for him, getting a chance to play. That's another guy Coach Bilovich had in Toronto last year, and did a pretty good job for him last year. And I know he was counting on him this year. He said he was looking for him to start using that size to get open in the middle.
Tony Dennis will come into the ball game, replacing Brian Bedford.
First and goal,
Ball is at the 5-yard line. First and goal with 2:20 remaining in the half. The Lions leading by 12 and threatening to add to that total. They put together a couple of pretty good drives today. This is a 9-play drive so far. There's the fake by Flutie. He's going to throw wide open for the touchdown. Is Ken Whitney, who has switched his jersey coming into the ball game. He wears both 68 and 77. When he's lined up as a receiver, he wears number 77.
And he should catch a touchdown, because see, he's 6'4". Of course, he's 285 pounds, but he's 6'4", so he's a good height. This is a naked bootleg. All three backs go to the right. Nobody comes with him. It's Flutie all by himself, but nobody covers Ken Whitney at 6'4" and at 285 pounds. You don't expect him to throw to him. He was certainly wide open.
He was the Lions' second-round draft choice, 10th overall this year. He played 4 years at Cal Lutheran after attending high school in Calgary.
Well, I tell you something, I think we'll get a chance maybe later in the second half. We'll talk about some of these draft choices that the BC Lions have. They got a ton of number 1 and 2s.
The point after by Tony Martino, and it's 20-1. The BC Lions leading Edmonton at the half.
I don't think this today anybody was expecting to look up with 2 minutes left in the first half and see the BC Lions with a 20-1 lead over the Edmonton Eskimos.
We talked about the touchdown drive earlier that culminated in the pass to Jay Christensen. This one a 10-play march with the touchdown toss to Ken Whitney.
That's the thing you have to be impressed with, is that they're not doing it with just that one big play. I think the last drive was 7 plays. That one was 10. There we see him naked all by yourself. Flutie can throw the ball from any position, and he can get that body turned and thrown. And Whitney's a big target, but they have moved it consistently on the Eskimos, and that's what Bilovich has to be very pleased with.
Gizmo on the return is stopped at the 45-yard line with 2:06 remaining in the half. That must be a rather hopeless feeling for those 3 defenders who think they've got Flutie all lined up and then realize there's a receiver open in behind them. Scott?
Don, the fourth quarter in Hamilton now, and the Ticats are still in it against the Stampeders. Mike Kerrigan goes once again to the money receiver, Tony Champion, and he turns this into a major score, his second on the day. Ticats made the 2-point convert. They're now within a field goal.
Sideline pattern to Todd Smith, and this should be a first down.
Tracy Ham with the pass complete to Todd.
I was just trying to remember when the Eskimos offense went on the field, how long ago it had been since they'd been out there. And when they've been there, they haven't been there long, so they have to be fresh.
First and 10. Tracy Ham knocked down.
The Drawhorn coming on that halfback blitz, gone outside. Nobody touched him. He didn't get the hit that he'd really like to have, but watch him come. Watch to the left. You see Michael Souls try to slow him down. He just kind of pushed him with his hand. He came to him, pushed him. He lowers that head and hits him and wraps those arms. Well, I'll tell you what, that'll shake you out. He did him a favor.
I said hit and knock down. That's exactly what happened. He wasn't tackled at all. This one was way over the head of Larry Willis. And the fans send out a chorus of boos again. Losing is not something football fans in Edmonton are accustomed to.
You know, that is true. You know, they get a little bit spoiled here in Edmonton. They have won for so many years. They've had great teams. I'm not knocking anything, but
hockey and football.
that's right. It doesn't matter. They just don't know what it's like to be normal. You know, everybody has to win and everybody has to lose. These guys take it personal.
1:35 remaining in the half. McAreedy on third down stands at his own 33-yard line for this punt. Good high kick. Tony Hunter waits for it at the 15. And Hunter is stopped as he gets up to the 27. Again, let's join Scott.
Well, Don, the two major stories in the CFL right now, the trouble with the Eskimos and the Argos' chances in the playoffs being hurt severely by the loss of their starting quarterback, Matt Dunnigan, last night. We'll check on both on Live at the Half, and we'll update you on the other games in this now exciting race for top spot in the West Division. To be sure, the Eskimos would like to inject some more excitement into it.
Racism was suggested as the problem with the Eskimos. Execution has been the problem with the Eskimos this afternoon.
Yeah, they have not converted second down situations, and there's no way to keep the ball when you don't do that.
Lorenzo Graham, the ball carrier, and he has a gain of about 7 more with 1:16 remaining in the half.
I'll tell you what, he not only got a pretty good block on the lead, but he got a good block by Tony Dennis, who isn't the biggest guy in the world, come in there at that slot back position. Tony Dennis is 5'11", 185 pounds. I'm glad to see him back in the league, Don. We talked about him when he was with Saskatchewan a few years ago. He needed to play. He went to Calgary in a trade and then dropped out of sight. They did not use him at all there. It's nice to see him back in the league. I think he's a pretty good receiver.
Lorenzo Graham takes the pitch, and he gets the first down with 57 seconds remaining in the half. You know, we talked about the size of the receiving core of the BC Lions. How about that offensive line? Jim Mills, 6'9", 280. Leo Groenwagen, 6'5", 270. Ian Sinclair, 6'4", 260. Romano, 6'4", 257. Clarkson, 6'8", 300.
Well, you see a good example of that. You saw number 66, Jim Mills, take that 6'9" frame of his outside and cut down Danny Bass. And Hansen again knocks Rupp down, and Lorenzo Graham gets the first down. That is a big mobile offensive line.
Ryan Hansen, the ball carrier. This is another BC first down up to midfield.
Ryan Hansen, the ball carrier.
I think when Coach Abelovich was right yesterday, wasn't he, when he said his strength is that offensive line. And we said it before, they're big, young, and fast. And we see Ryan Hansen go 17 yards. Well, watch it again, right behind Jim Mills. Lorenzo Graham makes a good block for him this time. That's good when you work together. Downfield. Well, I'll tell you, this is just a little bit of surprise today to watch how well they are controlling this football game.
Totally controlling it, as that first down statistic indicates. 19-5. Wide open over the middle is Tony Dennis. He's got a touchdown.
Oh, I'll tell you that.
55 yards. The touchdown pass from Doug Footy to Tony Dennis.
Again, they take the two receivers, the two slot backs on the same side of the field. Christensen went under, and I think when we see the replay, you're going to see Mark Norman back in the middle, slipping. He can't get over there to help because he had Christensen coming. But right here in the middle, he's down. He can't get over there to help at all. No way Keith Gooch can get there from the backside. Another well-executed play, just the way you draw it on the board.
9 seconds remaining in the half. Tony Dennis coming into the ball game as an injury replacement for Brian Bedford. And he joins Ken Whitney and Jay Christensen as people who have put it in the end zone for the Lions this afternoon. And Tony Martino puts the extra point through the uprights. And it's now 27-1, the BC Lions leading the Edmonton Eskimos.
Well, we'll get another look at it from the quarterback's viewpoint. Watch, coming across the middle first. Christensen goes across. Up to the right of your screen, Mark Norman slips and cannot get back there to help on Tony Dennis. Tony Dennis had it made. Keith Gooch couldn't bring him down. Nothing to it.
Well, Bob Abelovich was telling us yesterday that since he took over, the Lions are 2-2. He said, you know, I'm not joking. We could be 4-0.
They really could have. You know, they had a chance against Saskatchewan. I think they had a punt block for a touchdown, and there was a penalty called, and they only lost by 4. You know, tough things happen, but they're playing football now the way everybody expected them to play early in the year.
This is Leroy Blue on the kickoff return. 4 seconds remaining in the half as the BC Lions squibbed it along the ground. Obilovich said the strength of his team was the offensive line, the linebackers, and his offense. And Joe Farragelli must be wondering just what the strength of his team is right now.
First and 10, Eskimos at their own 40.
I don't know. I was trying to think of it real quick, but they haven't had any strengths today at all.
This should be the final play of the half. Ham throwing the Hail Mary, and it'll be intercepted by Drawhorn. Look out!
Better watch it.
Drawhorn made a valiant effort to try and get to that end zone.
Well, Todd Smith came back to make the play. The trouble with that play for Edmonton is when you catch the ball, all the speed guys are down here, so once he gets by them, it's the lineman coming.
Well, a chorus of boos surprisingly greets the Eskimos as they leave the field, trailing 27-1 at the half.
Welcome to Live at the Half from Edmonton, where the Eskimos did not look good through the first 30 minutes, didn't do much to make their fans forget about their current tailspin. It's been 8 years since the Eskimos have lost 3 in a row, and the folks out here are scrambling for reasons. The first crack in the armor may have appeared last November when the Eskimos, who went 16-2 in the season, were beaten by Saskatchewan in the West Final. It was no consolation to the Eskimos. The Riders went on to win the Grey Cup. In week 3 of this season, the Eskimos surrendered 50 points and lost to Ottawa. Yes, even the best lose now and then, but they don't lose 3 in a row as the Eskimos have. The streak began with a home loss to Winnipeg and continued in Hamilton and Saskatchewan. The search for reasons has been extensive. Even racism has been suggested, but Tracy Ham says the problems are confined to the playing field.
Well, I don't think we're really struggling. I just think we're in a situation where we got to start making our plays, and if we don't start making our plays, we won't be in a position to struggle. So I just think we just got to pull back together here and start concentrating a little better, and everybody just got to do their job.
The Eskimos are still first and in the Grey Cup race, even if they haven't shown Grey Cup form. Now at Commonwealth Stadium, we're joined live by veteran Eskimo defensive lineman Brett Williams. Brett, it's only a game you're playing out there, but it can get awful serious when there are charges of racial tension. Did your team discuss those charges this week?
We discussed the charges of racial tension among ourselves, and we really dismissed them. What you see out there is not a football team torn apart about racism. It's just we're not playing well, and we have to find the answers. If racism had been the problem, we would have solved it by now. We just have to find what is wrong with our team, and we're trying to use the racism issue to launch ourselves into playing well again. Obviously, by the first half, that hasn't worked so far, and we're just going to have to try and dig a little deeper.
Well, let's leave that and discuss what really has you worried now. Obviously, the first half of this ball game, and this was supposed to be the game that was to turn it around, and far from it.
That really is. That's the main thing right now. We worked really hard, and we came out, and we're still playing flat, and that's the issue right now. We're playing. That's about the worst half football I think you've seen anybody play this year, and we've got to go find a way to turn it around, to try and get back in this game, not just to win this game, but to get our season back on track.
First half of this game and the 3 games before it begged this question: is this a team that is perhaps not as good as it thought it was, or a good team that just has not lived up to its potential in the last month?
I think we're a team that's so very talented. We've played hard together, and we worked with a formula that's worked really well for us. Now we're running into tough times, and we have the talent. We just have to find the button to push to get that talent together again.
Racial tension, not a problem. We'll buy that. What are the problems?
If we knew that, we'd be ahead 27-1 instead of behind 27-1. We've really got to find what it is, and that's not easy to do.
You know that the Calgary Stampeders are in position to leapfrog over you, moving to first place in the West Division. That should be motivation enough to play well in the second half.
That really is motivation, because if we could get Calgary to drop a game on the way to the last game, because we have them, and we could win these next 2 home games, the last game with them was not going to be a factor. But now it looks like we're going to go into Calgary maybe with them up by 1 or us up by 1, which means that last game is going to determine the winner of the Western Division.
Brett Williams, thanks for your time. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
One thing this Eskimo slide has done is create an exciting race for first place in the West Division. When Live at the Half returns to Commonwealth Stadium, we'll check on some other games in that race. We'll be back in just a moment.
Cup 90 in Vancouver. Don't miss it.
Finally, a game about business.
For the third time this season, Toronto Argo quarterback Matt Dunnigan is on the injured list, but the Argos still have Mike Clemens, always a threat on the run. Milson Jones provides the Saskatchewan Roughriders with the same threat. He's won a couple of games for them this season, and Don Narcisse has had his share of big catches. Toronto at Saskatchewan, Sunday, October 28th on the CFL on CBC. Welcome back to Commonwealth Stadium as Live at the Half continues. At the Sky Dome last night, Saskatchewan Roughriders had a chance to move into a first-place tie with the Eskimos, but it all fell apart early for the Riders in the very same building where they won the Grey Cup last November. The Argos went on the attack immediately, and by the time they were finished, Darrell Smith had caught 3 touchdown passes for a league record 19 on the season. The Argos won 59-15 to clinch second place in the East, but Toronto paid a price. In the second quarter, Matt Dunnigan, quarterback extraordinaire in his first game back from a hamstring injury, was hurt again. An innocent-looking enough play, but Dunnigan re-injured the same hamstring and was unable to contain his exasperation. The question was obvious. After just 3 weeks to heal, was Dunnigan ready to return in the first place?
Every indication, all the tests that the trainers put me through and that I went through, every factor pointed that I was 100%. So, in my mind, I still had a bit of doubt because, you know, just after an injury like that, and its magnitude, it's difficult to come back, you know, in less than 4 weeks. And I gave it a shot, but it just didn't work out. But you know, I guess hindsight is 20/20, but I don't think it's anybody's fault. Like I said, all indications were that I was 100%, that I'd go out there and give it a shot, and I did. And I went till the wheels fell off, and they did.
Argos gambled on Matt Dunnigan's health last night. Now they will not likely have him for the East Division semifinal in 3 weeks' time. In Hamilton this afternoon, Calgary Stampeders looking to move ahead of the Eskimos and into sole possession of first place in the West Division. And this is a final score now. Stampeders have beaten the Ticats 48-42. And Don and Ron, I would think the onus is really on the Eskimos now to play well in the second half of this game if they possibly can get out of this tailspin.
Well, I don't know whether they can play well in the second half of this ball game, Scott. They certainly did not in the first half, partly because of their own ineptness, but the BC Lions are really playing well.
Well, they're playing very well offensively, moving the football. On the defensive side, what they have done, they have limited the Eskimos to only 17 offensive plays. Now, we're not talking about the 6 kicks. They've only run 17 plays in 30 minutes. That's unheard of in this game.
And one of the keys for the BC Lions is the way Doug Flutie is moving the ball around and using all of his receivers. He is throwing the football today to 7 different people.
And the one that nobody in this stadium expected him to throw it to. Here it comes, a naked bootleg down near the goal line, and number 77, which is Keith Whitney at 6'4", 285 pounds, comes in at that tight end position, and they just disregard him altogether, and he's wide open and shows he can catch the ball too.
Had the BC Lions made the change earlier in the coaching department, they might be in position to challenge for a playoff spot. We'll be back with more after this.
So it's good for your skin.
Thanks. I needed that.
Skin brace or aftershave?
By Men.
The CFL on CBC. An exclusive presentation of Miller Lite. Goes down great among friends. By Priority Courier, the official courier of the CFL. And by Diet 7-Up. Challenge your taste.
27-1 BC halftime lead over Edmonton only tells a portion of the story. Statistically, look at the domination of the BC Lions. 20 first downs, 340 net yards to just 36 for the Eskimos. Time of possession, 3-1.
Well, that's what I said. I mean, they're going to have to buy some new footballs because the BC Lions aren't letting the Eskimos play with this one. I mean, they just 17 plays for a football team with the Eskimos' capabilities is just not good enough.
The ball bounces to the Gizmo at the 20-yard line. He's trying to get outside, and he can't. Penalty flag in the play, however. This is probably a face mask call as he was hauled down by Lonnie Finch. A 20-yard run back by Henry the Gizmo Williams.
You know, the thing, though, we have to remember now, we saw him down quite a bit in the Ottawa game many months ago back in the early part of the season. And they came back and scored 46 points and almost won it. Right now, they've made a quarterback change, and we'll see if it...
BC number 7.
And we'll see if it helps, but Steve Taylor's going to get his chance to play, see if he can move the football. The Eskimos are capable of putting 40 points on the board in a half, so we'll see what happens.
The Eskimos threw more to the wideouts in the first half of this ball game. That was Tracy Ham. Now Steve Taylor out of the University of Nebraska is the quarterback. He's going to give the ball inside to Michael Soles, and Soles spins off a couple of tackles and fights his way to the 50-yard line for a gain of 6.
This is what they need to do. Steve Taylor can't come out here and think he's going to score touchdown after touchdown. He's got to come out here and put a game plan to work. They have not executed well enough in the first half, as we saw by those numbers of possession on the clock. He has just got to approach it. This guy is an excellent athlete. I remember watching him at the University of Nebraska. He's an excellent athlete, so he has the ability to do it, but he's got to be patient.
Penalty flags at the line of scrimmage as there was premature movement.
That's a free play, ain't it?
The whistle had gone, calling the play dead, and it was an offside call against the BC Lions, and that should give the Eskimos a first down.
Offside, BC number 39. First down repeated.
Looks like they're going to shuffle the plays back and forth between Johnstone and Soles. But here we see Tank Landry coming on the blitz. He just gets a little bit too far. Him and Derek McCready.
Larry Willis on the receiving end of the throw, and Jefferson has him. And he fumbled the football, and the BC Lions claim they've recovered, and the officials concur.
I think he did fumble the football. He got that, what do you call it, stop pattern. That's when the receiver runs right at that defensive back and just stop. You throw it right at him. But what happens, Jefferson comes up. We'll see him catch the football. He stops, gets the ball, and here comes number 12. But watch what happens. Right here, he gets that right hand in, and as he turns him around, the ball pops loose, and the Lions come up with another big turnover.
First and 10, BC Lions.
Well, there were some members of the BC Lions when Willis was traded had less than complimentary things to say about Larry Willis. Lorenzo Graham fights his way up to the 45-yard line.
The ball carrier for the Lions.
Norm Jefferson, 5'10", 185-pounder from Southeast Compton, plays down there in Louisiana State. Got 2 interceptions for the Lions, but the big thing is he's out on that position. It's tough to play. Every time he has a game like this, his confidence just jumps that much higher.
2nd and 7. Penalty flag. Flutie throws to Colbert, and he will be very close to a first down, but there was a penalty flag back at the line of scrimmage.
Let's get the Eskimos off this time.
It was an Edmonton offside, so they will repeat the down because it looked as though Colbert was stopped short of a first down. A 5-yard penalty would make it a 2nd and 2.
Offside, BC number 44. Pardon me, Edmonton number 44. 2nd down repeated.
Well, we saw earlier how Edmonton had moved the ball around in throwing the football. They had a preference for throwing to the wideouts. Doug Flutie has liked to throw inside, particularly to Jay Christensen.
Bedford, Dennis, and Christensen all been the big receivers today, all slot backs.
Skinner on second down is going to be stopped short.
Well, I was going to say, you know, when it comes up that 2nd and 2 early in the third quarter and you get a turnover, you need to make that first down. The Eskimos, on the other hand, needed a big effort, and they got it, and now I think they're going to force them to punt the ball.
27-1 is the score. And for the moment, the Edmonton Eskimos are in second place in the West. The Calgary Stampeders, with their victory over the Hamilton Ticats this afternoon, have taken over top spot. Martino hasn't had to do much punting in the ball game today. He stands at his own 35-yard line for this kick, a low snap. Excellent kick.
Line drive, though, should be a good one to return for the Giz.
Williams trying to get outside. Alondro Johnson got downfield to make first contact with him, and then Williams is upset at the 32-yard line, and he's a little upset that he didn't break it all the way. 12:05 is the time remaining in the third quarter.
Cup 90 in Vancouver. Don't miss it. CFL Priority Courier Lineman and Defensive Player of the Week. The lineman and defensive player for week number 14 is Winnipeg's Tyrone Jones. The Blue Bombers continued their tirade over the Argos as the Winnipeg defense throttled the Toronto offense. Linebacker Tyrone Jones loomed large in the 25-19 victory by providing explosive leadership, 1 sack, 1 interception, and 3 tackles. Tyrone Jones, CFL Priority Courier Lineman and Defensive Player of the Week.
The Gizmo took that kick by Martino. Alondra Johnson appeared to have him trapped, but somehow he slipped away.
Yeah, and it does a good job. Watch this tackle. If he gets that right foot under him and doesn't go down, he's probably going to break that all the way. But the tackle took that next step away from him, and the kid was upset when he got up. Yesterday, talking with Coach Farragelli at the press conference, the Giz was happy we were coming to town. He says, I always return kicks or touchdowns when they're here. So he almost got his first one there.
Blake Marshall with a large group of white jerseys in pursuit, restricting his run to about 3 yards. Alondra Johnson was one of those in pursuit of Blake Marshall. The strength, as we have pointed out earlier, according to Bob Obilovich of his football team, the offensive line, it is 3 linebackers, Johnson, Landry, and Willie Plus.
They're all mobile. They can all run, and that's the key.
2nd and 7. Taylor looking, can't find a receiver. He'll run and get the first down.
He runs well. He's an excellent athlete. He shows you that. He gets back in that pocket, nothing there. He just takes off upfield. He ran for a lot of yards at the University of Nebraska. Right in the pocket, nothing open. Now he escapes. Tell you what you have to like. He gets close to the first down. He sees it now. He turns right up. That gets him the first down.
At the University of Nebraska, in one game back in 1987, he ran for 187 yards. He completes this pass for a first down to Marco Sincar.
They had a tough time getting that ball to the slots today. We said that the BC Lions wanted to take Craig Ellis out of the game. He has been no factor. Finally, they get the ball into Sincar. He has to scramble around. He finally avoids the rush, and he throws it into Sincar, and Sincar gets it there. Derek McCready. He's the one that got the pressure on him.
Anthony Drawhorn is the injured BC Lion. It appears to be a cramp more than anything else. Drawhorn is rather surprised to find himself dressed for today's game. It was an injury to Chris Major that enabled him to get into the lineup. Scott?
Don, at the BC bench, a quick update on a couple of Lions receivers for whom the season is over. The word is back from the hospital. Ray Alexander has been x-rayed, and he has cracked the 9th rib on his left side. And Brian Bedford has torn a major ligament in his right knee. So the season for both those receivers is over. Don?
That is a blow for the BC Lions because both Alexander and Bedford were a couple of key men in their passing attack. They have 2 games remaining, both home games.
Good blocking, good blocking.
Taylor steps up and throws complete. And Todd Smith will be very close to another first down. There's a penalty flag. It could be a procedure call.
Hank Landry making the tackle for the Lions.
And that's the signal from referee George Black. So that will negate the gain from Taylor passing to Smith.
Procedure, Edmonton number 54. First down.
Pierre Verchevel is the man who moves. You see him just to the left of quarterback Steve Taylor.
Now, once you get into that three-point stance, you cannot even lift your hand until the ball is snapped. He not only lifted it, but he dropped back.
First and 15 now. Steve Taylor replacing Tracy Ham at the start of the third quarter. Blake Marshall took back about 8 of those yards. Tracy Ham, perhaps one of his worst performances since he came into the CFL in the first half of this ballgame.
He must have had a worse one. I just don't remember when it was. And I like what Steve Taylor's doing. 4 out of 14. That's not Tracy Ham. There's no doubt about that. Not in 30 minutes of football.
Second and 6. Taylor's pass complete to Willis, but he's caught almost immediately by Jefferson. And Jefferson is doing a good job of playing Willis tight.
You sit on him like that, you know, you're not going to be able to take everything away from a receiver. So when they throw that ball in that stop pattern, all you want to do as a defensive back is to come up and hit him as hard as you can. You know, a short gain and a headache is the way you look at it. And he hit it good in the middle of the back.
On third down, trailing 27-1, the Eskimos are going for it. 3rd and 2, Edmonton. Blake Marshall trying to get outside. I don't think he's going to make it.
It's going to be very, very close, but I'll tell you, the only thing that gave him a chance was Blake Marshall. The size and the weight and the speed. He got it all forward, leaned ahead, and it looks like he's going to come up short, but otherwise he has no chance at all.
Blake Marshall was involved in a tremendously physical battle a couple of weeks ago with Darryl Corbin of the Hamilton Ticats in a game that the Ticats won 25-23. The two pounded away at each other all afternoon. Marshall 6'1", 230 pounds.
Well, that's what you have to do because he's an excellent football player and he's so strong. You've got to keep hitting him. And there we saw the linebackers, what they meant to him, the guys that made the hit, Landry and Pless.
Sideline pattern, and again, I think Fuda was simply throwing that one where it couldn't be caught, certainly not caught by a green and gold jersey. It will be 2nd and 10, 8:30 remaining in this third quarter. 2 other games this afternoon in the Canadian Football League. Winnipeg defeated Ottawa 27-20. And Calgary knocked off Hamilton 48-42. So Calgary is now in first place, a point ahead of the Edmonton Eskimos. Ottawa remains 2 points back of Hamilton in the battle for third place in the East. Winnipeg, of course, has already clinched first. Tony Dennis was the target. It's incomplete.
That's a little bit surprising, you know, as we were talking before the game, you know, with Hamilton, when we were watching the game, they were losing. And we're saying, what if Ottawa was to win today and tighten that rate? Every game from now to the end of the season has a bearing on the playoff spot. That's about all you can ask.
Procedure, BC number 83. Decline, 3rd down.
Jay Christensen was guilty of that procedure call, so with the incomplete pass, the penalty is declined, and the BC Lions send out the punting unit. Tony Martino will be kicking to Henry Williams and Smith. Smith fields it, and he's caught immediately at the 35-yard line. 7:51 is the time remaining in the third quarter. BC leads by 26 points. Well, let's correct the score we passed on earlier. Ottawa, were informed, defeated Winnipeg 27-20 rather than the reverse. So with that victory by Ottawa, they now move into a third-place tie with Hamilton in the East. Hamilton losing to Calgary. Calgary in first place in the West. So the final 2 weeks are going to be most interesting in the Canadian Football League. Steve Taylor is throwing deep, and it's over the head of Larry Willis.
Steve Taylor with the pass attempt to Larry Willis is complete.
Ottawa with the win moves into a tie with Hamilton, each with 12 points. Toronto with that win last night over the Saskatchewan Roughriders, 16 points. Winnipeg has already clinched first place in the East. And Calgary with the win, now leading Edmonton by a single point. The Eskimos, of course, could regain first place with a win this afternoon. They are trailing by 26 with 7:30 remaining in the third quarter.
Well, they better start doing something. They need to make some first down.
Steve Taylor can't find a receiver. Wetmore was after him, but Taylor got the pass away. And downfield, Keith Wright could not make the catch.
Good job by Taylor. He sat in the pocket. What I liked about him, he just sat there. When it was time to go, he rolled out, used his speed. But sometimes when you throw on the run, the ball will sail a little bit, and that's what happened there. Just got a little bit too high to handle. All right, we'll watch Keith Wright come back for the ball. He jumps as high as he can, but he can't catch it. If they get the ball back, first and 10. They get a little time. Referees are going to have a little talk there. I don't know what's going on. They're going to talk about something.
Well, one of the officials is heading right out of the park.
Well, they're going to go. They just move somebody else into set, and they'll go one short. Got to play hurt.
Taylor running with the football, and he's forced out of bounds.
Good job, Steve. Let's go, Steve.
The Eskimos need to move this ball down the field. They need to score on this drive somehow. That's a good job by Taylor on first down. Didn't like what he saw. He got 5-6 yards running.
It's a 7-yard gain for the Eskimos on that play. Second and 3 from their own 52.
Second and 3. The ball at the 52-yard line. Blake Marshall gets the first down as he drives to the BC 44-yard line.
We were talking earlier about why Blake Marshall has to be a key. At that size and speed, getting him moving upfield, he's a load for anybody to tackle in the secondary. And they did a job. Get him into the secondary, let him run from there. And right now, Taylor is using him the way he has to be used.
First and 10.
He's working, baby. Working, Steve.
Steve Taylor manages to get the pass away, but this is well over the head of the intended receiver.
Steve Taylor with the pass attempt to Craig Ellis, incomplete.
Craig Ellis out of his slot back position had gone deep, but Taylor was under some pressure to unload that football.
Well, they've certainly executed their defensive game plan today. You know, if you think of Ellis' stats, comes in with 89 receptions. He has not been a factor in today's ball game, and that's, you have to have your big guns when you need to make things happen. So they've got to get Ellis back into this ball game somehow.
Second and 10. The ball is at the 43.5. Taylor throws it over the middle, and this should be a first down.
Steve Taylor with the pass to Craig Ellis.
Craig Ellis, who leads the Edmonton Eskimos in receptions with his first catch of the day.
Just drive him off, stop. Now the ball's thrown low. Don't come back for it in that case. They had to get 10 yards for the first down. He went past the first and 10 marker and then just dropped to his knees to make the catch.
First down, Eskimos.
We saw George Black, the referee, leave earlier, and he has still not returned. They are continuing this game with just 5 officials rather than the usual 6.
Ellis' first catch, 10 yards. Who would have thought that?
Steve Taylor gets the pass away. It's deflected, intercepted. Belanger makes the interception down at the 7-yard line.
Well, the thing about this, when a quarterback is running away and he's coming to the back, if you try to throw leaning backwards, you can't get anything on the football. And when it's tipped twice and goes in the air, you're going to lose it. All right, watch him. Watch how he throws the ball. He's running away, and then he's throwing off that back foot as he's falling away. You can't get anything on it. Now, granted, there was no one open, but that ball gets tipped twice. It's going to be intercepted.
The Eskimos this afternoon not only been able to execute themselves, they have turned the ball over 5 times. Chris Skinner, the ball carrier, and he'll get the first down out beyond the 20-yard line.
Chris Skinner, the ball carrier.
He runs to the left side behind Larry Clarkson, Rocco Romano.
Well, we understand that illness has taken George Black, the referee, out of the ball game. Bud Steen, who started the game as the field judge, has moved up to take over as referee. But we understand that George hopes to return. There's Bud Steen. First and 10. The ball is at the 21-yard line. Lorenzo Graham running hard for about 3 yards, maybe 4. You know, we talked earlier about the rather dramatic finish coming up in the Canadian Football League. We're going to check in a moment the games remaining for the teams that are fighting for positions. Danny Bass in that tackle. Winnipeg is in Ottawa next week. Hamilton travels to Edmonton. And Calgary visits BC. Then in the final weekend, Saskatchewan is at BC. Hamilton is at Winnipeg. Edmonton at Calgary. Ottawa at Toronto. Wide open is Colbert. First down at the 47.
Well, to be fair about it, Keith Gooch, the corner on that side, was covering him, slipped and fell. That enabled Colbert to get behind him. Then all Flutie has to do is find him. He catches it, turns upfield, picks up 36 yards. But if we look out here, I think maybe we'll see, I know we're not going to see him, but Gooch had slipped and fell. He got up, tried to get on a play, but too late. But he does get back to help on the tackle, Mark Norman and Gooch. But again, they move out of field position. They get field position.
It's first and 10. BC at the Edmonton 47-yard line. 2:56 remaining in the third quarter. Flutie is intercepted. Leroy Blue, or Brett Williams, is the man who made the contact. Leroy Blue at the football. So the Eskimos take over with 2:50 remaining in the third quarter. Well, even officials have to play hurt, and George Black, suffering from the flu, has returned. Hopefully, he'll be able to continue in that position. So 6 officials are again set to handle the remainder of this ball game. Steve Taylor throwing to the sidelines. Craig Ellis spinning and fighting his way to the 21.
It's a simple out pattern. He just goes upfield and Belanger hits him, knocks him outside. But if you remember, Craig Ellis was a great running back. And if he gets the football, he uses running back skills. Watch him. Stop. Start inside. Little twist. Stop. Turn around. Now just go to the hit now because you're running out of places to go.
34 yards the gain, and this is the best field position the Eskimos have had today. Unbelievable. Their position improves some more with Craig Ellis on the receiving end of another throw, but there are penalty flags once again.
I have a feeling this may go against the Lions. The only reason I say that, when the Eskimos walked by the official, he patted him on the back. So he must have been happy that he saw whatever the BC Lion did.
Major foul, unnecessary roughness, BC number 44.
Alondro Johnson guilty of the unnecessary roughness call.
Michael Souls was the one that patted the official on the back, and Alondro Johnson was close to him, so it must have been him, and that's who the referees found. But you know, Craig Ellis all of a sudden is becoming the factor now. They had him controlled for almost 3 quarters.
First and goal for the Eskimos. Taylor, quarterback draw, down to the 1-yard line.
It's a good call on first down. You know, you have 3 receivers out to one side of the field, and then you send the remaining back in motion to the left. Linebackers have to move because there's 6 receivers, and all you do is follow that line upfield and gets to the 1.
is the time remaining in the third quarter. Run is the score. The BC Lions in front. The Eskimos trying to get into the end zone for the first time, and Blake Marshall doesn't make it. So now they are signaling a first down, or a touchdown. Initially they had indicated that he was not in, and now they do signal a touchdown for Blake Marshall.
Yeah, first reaction was no touchdown, and then all of a sudden the arms went in the air. Let's take a look at it. Tries to go to the outside, turn upfield. It had to be just when he fell forward, because when he initially went down, he wasn't to the line. But they finally get into the end zone. Took them almost 45 minutes to do it today.
Macaridi with the point after, and the Edmonton Eskimos finally get a touchdown, but not until they had used up almost 3/4 of this football game.
Okay, we're going to get a good look at it here. Get in behind Andrew McConnell, 55, and there it is. He does break the plane as he falls down and reaches forward, but when he first went down initially, there was no sign, and it wasn't until he appeared out from under that mob of players that they signaled touchdown.
Blake Marshall is the leader in rushing touchdowns. That was his 11th of the season. Nelson Jones of Saskatchewan is number 2, and Matt Dunnigan, who unfortunately is probably finished for the year, number 3. Former Eskimo star along that offensive line, Hector Potier, who has now taken up curling.
I read about that today. I read. He had to play 2 games back-to-back until he was wringing wet because of the hard work of sweeping. Also, if there's any arguments, he'll settle them.
Lorenzo Graham on this kickoff return. He brings it back to the 42-yard line with 1 minute remaining in the third quarter. 27-8 is the score. The BC Lions leading. That was a 27-yard run back after a 60-yard kickoff. Yes, the final couple of weeks are going to be most interesting in the Canadian Football League. Again, next weekend, Calgary's at BC, Winnipeg at Ottawa, Toronto at Saskatchewan, Hamilton at Edmonton. On the final weekend, Ottawa's at Toronto, Saskatchewan at BC, Hamilton at Winnipeg, Edmonton at Calgary. That Edmonton-Calgary game will almost certainly be a battle for first place. That takes place at McMahon Stadium. Doug Flutie throwing to the sidelines, incomplete. Andre Francis was all over Tony Hunter. 37 seconds remaining.
Like a blank.
Andre Francis on the coverage.
Next Sunday, we'll be at Taylor Field in Regina as the Rough Riders hope to rebound from that humiliation last night at the Sky Dome in Toronto. We talked earlier about some of the changes that Bob Obilovich made since taking over. One of them was to add Bill Quinter to his office staff as Director of Player Personnel. 2 of them were former teammates with the Ottawa Rough Riders.
Yeah, many years ago. Quinter and I were teammates, and then when Obilovich came, I had to go, so I left, and Bill and Bob became very close friends, as Bill and I are. And I got positive things the BC Lions have done when Bob took over. 1, to put Obilovich in charge. He is the boss. 2, he's got an excellent personnel guy in Bill Quinter. He is excellent at that field. And Bob and him being friends, you want that type of guy with you. And thirdly, he moved Jerry Keeling from the defensive side of the football to the offensive side to work with the quarterbacks. So that's 3 pluses that you can't really, has to do nothing but improve your football club. But Bill Quinter's a good at personnel, and Keeling, not a good defensive coach, especially linebacker. He's coaching where he should be now. Doug Flutie was talking about him today. He's learning from him and Obilovich. So it's a plus situation for Bob right now.
Let's go down to the sidelines now and bring in Scott O.
Don, the Eskimos coming back in this game, but their chances of completing it would be a lot greater if their defensive leader, Stu Hill, was in, but he's out with a broken wrist, and I'm wondering if it's the kind that you can fit with a playing cast, or are you done for the season?
Well, they suspect it's actually my arm about halfway up, and if it is broke like they say, then I'll have to be fitted with a cast from my wrist up to my shoulder, and that'll be it for the season. But we're not sure at this point. There's not much point in me speculating. We'll go to the hospital afterwards, x-ray it, and see what happens.
tough break to happen at this time of the season when the Eskimos are trying so hard to turn it around.
That's a tough break any time of the season. I can remember you and I did this last year, so hopefully, you know, things worked out well last year, and I was able to play. Well, maybe I'll be lucky again.
All right, well, with any luck, you'll be in the playoffs, or is that wild speculation?
Well, at this point, it's just too early to tell, but the doctors say it's probably doubtful at this point, but I'm not ruling out anything. We'll go to the hospital and x-ray it, see what happens. If I'm lucky, I'll be able to come back.
Thanks for your time, Stu. Hope to see you back this year.
Oh, thanks. It'd be nice to get back.
Don?
And Joe Farragelli is certainly hoping that Stu Hill will be able to return.
You know what he's hollering about right here with Andre Francis ran on the field. Andre Francis was hurt on the other side. They had to take him out. He had to stay out 3 plays when he came out. He went back in. That's why Farragelli had to get him off the field.
Doug Flutie. He hasn't done much of this afternoon, but it's a successful gallop down to the 47-yard line of the Edmonton Eskimos.
Larry Ruck and Jeff Braswell making the tackle for the Eskimos.
Well, he came into today's game averaging 8.8 yards a carry, and the surprising thing, the leading rusher of the BC Lions. Now, I know that's only because those other guys haven't been there that long, I hope.
And that is also the end of the third quarter. When we return, the BC Lions will have a first down. Well, the BC Lions are 15 minutes away from scoring one of the big upsets of the year.
First and 10 Lions.
They're at Commonwealth Stadium, leading the Eskimos 27-8 with a first down at the 47 of Edmonton. Flutie escapes the initial pressure, throws incomplete. He was looking for Colbert. It will be 2nd and 10.
Flutie with the pass attempt to Darryl Colbert, incomplete.
There's also a penalty flag on the play, a holding call against BC. Statistically, the BC Lions have been deserving of every one of those figures, and the Edmonton Eskimos are also deserving of what they've got.
That's what I was going to say. Likewise, they haven't executed very well today. Their statistics are a lot better now, though, than they were at the half. At least they've moved the football and been on the field a little bit.
That holding call takes the ball back to the 53. It's now 1st and 20 from the shotgun. Flutie's pass knocked down. Danny Bass, I think, got a hand on it.
Doug Flutie's pass attempt to
Braswell was also one of those in there.
I think he was trying to throw that ball into the area behind the linebackers, because there was no one there, but he just didn't get it up high enough, and you can't throw it through.
Braswell wearing a feather in his helmet, something that James Parker used to do. Flutie just got that one away, and the catch is made over on the sidelines by Tony Hunter, but he is short of a first down at the 45.
Flutie's pass complete to Tony Hunter.
Hunter went up high to haul that throw of Flutie's down.
Oh, he sure did. We're going to get a good look at it. Keith Gooch and Hunter playing a little one-on-one. Good move to get outside of him. Now, break, come back to the football. That's good. He used his head. If you notice, just before he made the break to the outside, he turned his head inside, and it throws Gooch. Then he breaks away from it, comes back and makes the catch. That's a well-executed pattern.
Pavel Bilovich was telling us yesterday that he couldn't believe, while he was unemployed this summer, sitting at his home in Toronto, that a talent like Tony Hunter was not playing somewhere in the CFL.
Didn't take him long to get him back playing once he got it with the BC Lions, though.
Low snap. Martino gets the kick away. The Gizmo at the 5-yard line. Hauled down as he gets up to the 12. 13:28 is the time remaining, with the BC Lions leading 27-8. Coming up Saturday on CBC Sports Weekend, a big day of racing. The Breeders' Cup, the Nations' Cup, and the IndyCar World Series. A couple of good Canadian hopes in the Breeders' Cup is Vestia, the Triple Crown winner this year, with approval. The Triple Crown winner last year. A couple of Kinghaven Farm entries in that Breeders' Cup. We'll have it for you on CBC Sports Weekend. Keith Wright came back to make the catch, but it all goes in vain as he was out of bounds.
No doubt about it. When he caught the football, the first thing to hit the ground was over the line, so it doesn't matter. He did not get the foot down. There's the throw. He died, leaves his feet. Well outside the line.
Second and 10. Steve Taylor took over from Tracy Ham to start the third quarter, and he remains the Eskimo quarterback. Craig Ellis on the receiving end of the throw. He'll be close to a first down.
Looks like he's going to be about a yard and a half short, but all he does is cross the field. There you go. Take off running. He gets across the field, makes the catch.
And let's brought down by Alonzo Johnson on that play.
Good yard, White. Good yard, White.
And on third down at their own 22-yard line, they're going after it.
Their own 22.
It's a little closer than a yard and a half. It's under a yard.
Michael Soles all the way up to the 40-yard line.
It took a bunch to bring down Blake Marshall. When he gets that 230 pounds started forward, they open a big hole. And poor defensive back. Watch the hole that's opened up. Number 54, Berchevelle, comes around the corner, makes the block on Quest, and now Marshall just takes him on. Got everybody and their brother get a shot at him. Belanger held on and roped him like a cow and finally brought him down.
First and 10 from the 40-yard line. Chris Johnstone into the ball game, replacing Blake Marshall. Todd Smith underthrown on that Steve Taylor passing attempt. 11:49 remaining in the ball game. Penalty flag on the play.
Your foul, roughing the passer, BC number 78. First down.
Dietrich Wise guilty of roughing the passer. And that will give the Edmonton Eskimos a first down as they move the football to the 54.
Well, a little tough one, but instead of letting up in that final step, he lowered the head and hit him. And you're going to get called for that. Had he been in full flight and not speeded up, he may not have got called. But don't go after him.
Taylor throwing deep for Williams. Who's got it? Drawhorn or Williams? It's Drawhorn. Pardon me, that's Lonnie Finch, not Drawhorn.
Steve Taylor's pass attempt to Gizmo Williams, intercepted by Lonnie Finch for the Lions.
See the Giz arguing. Giz figures it's a simultaneous catch, but both men had control of the football when they came down and hit the ground. The referee didn't agree, and the ball goes over to the BC Lions. So they tested Lonnie Finch, and he wins.
Lonnie Finch, the rookie cornerback, going up there to take it away from Henry Williams.
And he's taking the ball with him. Must be his first one. Let's look at it. I thought Finch had it right here. I would say it's Finch's ball. The referee's exactly right.
Ryan Hansen stopped right at the line of scrimmage. It will be second and 10. 10:56 remaining. BC Lions leading by a score of 27-8.
One of the big differences in the game today has been turnovers. The Lions have not turned it over, and this is a big down for them. You know, if you don't make the first down, at least get the opportunity to kick it away. They've only turned it over once, but you don't want to turn it over down at this end of the field.
Christensen, the man in motion across the formation. Flutie throws. Christensen still on his feet. All the way to the 44.
The funny part with this is Christensen's the guy that came in motion across the formation. He comes across the formation. Enos Jackson, 29, comes with him because they're in man-to-man coverage, then Christensen ducks right back inside of him. Watch, he'll be right underneath. There comes 29 Jackson. Keith Gooch slips and falls and gets in Jackson's way, and now Christensen just runs till they tackle him. He ran out of gas. He's still down on the ground, I think. Let's see what happens. Ooh, pretty good hit. Excellent hit. Jeff Braswell came in and really let him have it just at the end. He steps around Mathis, but there's the hit. But a big, big play by Christensen to get him out of that bad field position, get him out close to midfield.
38 yards on the pass to Jay Christensen. We talked in the first half about what an outstanding year Christensen was having. Going back over his career in 1987, just 13 receptions, 14 in 88, and just 5 all of last year. Brett the Toaster Williams, a stalwart along that defensive line. And the lady on the right is Mrs. Williams, Deanna.
First and 10 Lions.
I'm sure she spent more enjoyable afternoons at Commonwealth Stadium.
Yeah, trailing 27 days is not a happy time for anybody here.
The pitch to Lorenzo Graham. And Graham managed to pick up a yard, maybe a little more.
Ball carriers of BC.
The ball came loose, but the whistle had already gone.
Brett the Toaster Williams.
9:39.
Making the tackle for the Eskimos.
Time remaining in the ball game. 27-8. The BC Lions lead the Edmonton Eskimos. Jeff Braswell with that feather in his helmet can only hope he's as good as some of his predecessors who have worn a similar type of adornment on their helmet. Tony Hunter was the man that Doug Flutie was looking for. He was being covered by Andre Francis.
Covered very well by Andre Francis. He was right with him. Hunter saw the ball coming. He tried to adjust to it, but he had nowhere to go. Francis just had him covered. Look at him. He's right with him. Stay with him. Now, don't let him in there. That's all you have to do. You're entitled to that ground. He can't get through you. Danny Bass coming on the middle. See how he let up right at the end. I mean, he didn't just quit, but he was coming into the quarterback. He let up. The last time that roughing the passer was called on, he took that extra step and lowered the head, and that's the difference in the two plays.
That's why there was roughing the passer on one and not on the other. Henry Williams at his own 20-yard line. Again, the BC Lions, as we pointed out early in the telecast, doing a good job on that punt coverage game.
Excellent. You know, every time they've punted the ball to Williams, I look to where they're setting that wall up, and it is set perfect. But that man with the contain has not allowed him outside. That one man's probably prevented big, big returns today by the Gibbs.
Just 2 yards on that run back by number 2, Henry Williams.
First and 10.
I look at the clock, and it says somewhere around 8:35 left. 3 touchdowns. They've got to score this drive, and they got to score quick. They can't take 5 minutes to make this touchdown.
Steve Taylor throws complete. Larry Willis was up at about the 27-yard line before he was driven back.
See, Larry Willis ran that pattern at about 8 yards. He broken out. Steve Taylor is rolling to his left. There's no way he can throw on a rollout 8 yards. Willis has to go deeper. He came back for the football, gained 4 yards.
Second and 6. Taylor is intercepted by Doug Landry. And that should almost certainly wipe out any hope that the Edmonton Eskimos had of staging a comeback.
Well, I look right down in front of me. A lot of the fans think so because they're all getting out to leave. They're in field goal range. 3 points would give them 30, and it's going to put it just about completely out of reach. What he did, he went against the key. You throw that particular pattern away from where Doug Landry goes. He is the key. Wherever he goes, go the other way. He didn't do it, and that's rookie. That's inexperience. That stepped right in front of Ellis, makes the interception. If you look to the other side of the field, the slot back was over, and that's 7 turnovers for the Eskimos today.
First and 10. BC at the Edmonton 19-yard line. In and out of the hands of Jay Christensen.
Good morning. Daddy boy. Way to go. Doing back to back. Northeast. I'm playing. Hi, Miranda.
Turnovers have definitely been the difference in today's ball game.
Hi, Miranda. How you doing? Second and 2, DC.
Second and 2 for the BC Lions. Ryan Hansen faking on the play and fumbled the football, and who's got it? There's a flag on the play. Brett Williams comes up with it. And it was a holding call against BC.
Holding, BC number 55. Decline, first down Edmonton.
So the Edmonton Eskimos take over with that fumble with 6:44 remaining.
Let's see what happens. There's the handoff. Looks like 81 reaches out and just knocks it out of there. Brett Williams knocks it out of his hands, and then he recovers the football. I thought he was faking too because he didn't have the ball when he got up there. Well, you could afford the holding call, but you couldn't afford the turnover. You needed the 3 points because that would have iced it. Even though it's probably okay now, but that would have iced it.
Craig Ellis makes the catch, very close to an Edmonton Eskimo first down.
11-yard gain for the Eskimos.
Well, they ran that pattern well. They went deep on a drop-back pass. Just cleared out, and then let him break to the sideline. Good catch. Goes up and gets it. Drawhorn just kind of touches him. He's down.
Taylor over the middle, and Todd Smith should have a first down and much more up at the midfield stripe.
That's a touch pattern. That's one of the things you talk about when the quarterback has touch. The quarterback, in this case, Taylor, has to drop that ball into the area over the linebacker. The only problem is you take a heck of a hit, and he took one from Lonnie Finch, but he did hold on to the ball.
From the midfield stripe. Taylor flushed out of the pocket by Paul Wetmore, and Taylor fights his way to the 46-yard line.
Taylor running the ball for
5:27 remaining in the game.
Brought down by Anthony Drawhorn of the Lions.
Doug Landry is the BC player who is down. It's been a rough afternoon for the BC Lions. They've already lost Ray Alexander and Brian Bedford. Landry was down, but he waved off any medical assistance, and as a result stays in the ballgame.
I'll get a good look at it. He cuts in behind, tries to get into the block. As he spins around, Landry has that head collide with the hip of Steve Taylor.
The ball is loose. Alondro Johnson is on it, and apparently he's got it. So the BC Lions come up with a fumble recovery. Johnson pouncing on the ball as it bounced away from Blake Marshall. 27-8 is the score, 5:05 remaining. The Edmonton Eskimos were unbeaten at Commonwealth Stadium during 16 straight games. An undefeated streak that had dated back to October 23rd, 1988, when the Winnipeg Blue Bombers came in here on September the 28th and beat the Eskimos 48-25. This will be the second loss that the Eskimos have suffered on their home field this season. Lorenzo Graham,
the ball carrier
for a gain of about 3, maybe 4 yards.
Down by Brett Williams.
I think back to the press conference yesterday when Bob Obilovich was sitting there, and they started asking him if he was going to get all his quarterbacks in, if Major Harris was going to play. He says, we're not here to develop that. We're here to win a football game. Now, it's easy to say. I mean, they're out of the playoffs, but yet he's going to make sure that Doug Flutie learns how to play because he feels this is the quarterback for him for next year. And he's on the right track. He's getting him used to playing his style of ball.
Penalty flag. This will probably be a procedure call against the BC Lions. That long toss will go for naught as Jay Christensen makes another reception, but it appeared as though Rocco Romano had moved prior to the ball being snapped.
I don't know, the way Christensen's been playing today, I can't believe that he didn't have like 100 catches last year. 5 is hard to believe.
Procedure, BC number 58. Second down repeat.
Second and 13, BC, from their own 45-yard
Jay Christensen in his 4 previous years in the CFL played with the Calgary Stampeders. 3 receptions in 86, 13 in 87, 14 in 88, just 5 in 1989. Colbert attempted to come back for that football. I think he may have been prevented from getting back to the ball by the Edmonton Eskimo defender, Andre Francis.
He slipped going down, and then when the ball was in the air, Francis went right over him playing the football. But Flutie had to throw that ball a little bit too soon. He was under pressure from Brett Williams. He had to get rid of it.
Jay Christensen with 9 catches this afternoon and the touchdown.
Well, just saw a picture of Coach Ferrigelli saying, I wonder what he's thinking about right now. It's been a long time since the Eskimos have been out of first place, but it's going to happen today.
Penalty flag again as Martino's kick is handled by Henry Williams at the 15-yard line. Well, he's determined to try and break one, but he's hauled down at the 37. There's the penalty flag, however, back at the line of scrimmage with 3:25 remaining. Offside is the call against Edmonton. Well, Joe Ferrigelli last year directed the Eskimos to a 16-2 record. Then they lost the Western Final to the Saskatchewan Roughriders. He said he wasn't as concerned this year about the seasonal performance of the Eskimos. He wanted them to be ready for the playoffs, but they are not finishing the season in style.
Edmonton number 29. Third down repeated.
Well, you said in the opening, Don, that he said he'd rather be 9-9 and win it than 16-2. Well, he's got a shot at 9-9. Today, this just hasn't been a very good day for the Eskimos. You know, you would have thought, with all the noise coming out of Edmonton, of all the problems and straightening them out, that you would have thought that they'd have come out today and would have had a lot of zip and bang, take it to them. For some reason or other, they came out flat offensively, and you can't afford to do that. Maybe they didn't take the Lions seriously. I don't know, but they haven't been sharp today and pulled Tracy Ham after 30 minutes, so I don't know what will happen next week.
They get the Hamilton Ticats next week before concluding the year against the Calgary Stampeders. Williams knocked down at the 25-yard line, so really not much difference with that penalty added to the punt. 3:02 is the time remaining. A 43-yard kick, 8 yards on the return. So we'll be back with the final 3 minutes of this football game right after this.
Is Hamilton's Paul Osbaldiston. The Wizard of Ozzie once again put his best foot forward as the Hamilton Tiger Cats put the boots to the Edmonton Eskimos 25-23. Kicker Paul Osbaldiston was a scoring machine with 19 points. He was perfect with 6 field goals, including a career-best 56-yarder. Paul Osbaldiston, CFL Priority Courier Offensive Player of the Week.
We mentioned earlier that the last time the Eskimos lost 3 in a row was 1982. The last time they lost 4 in a row, 1971. Back then, their losing streak lasted 8 games. Taylor escapes the initial pressure and then is hauled down by Doug Landry.
Well, we talked about, we've mentioned it 2 or 3 times today, the strength of the Lions is that defense, the linebackers. If you think about it, they've got tremendous speed, and Landry is a hitter anyway. But look, the first shot is taken. Now when he escapes, Landry runs him down. Willie Pless, we know, can run. Alonzo Johnson was a rookie last year. He had tremendous speed, and so that's an excellent group of linebackers.
No huddle offense. The pass complete for gain of about 10, but that still leaves them about 10 yards shy of a first down. Craig Ellis on the receiving end of the Steve Taylor throw.
Going to kick the football. This surprises me a little bit. This does. I mean, you're down 27-8, and you know, that'll get. Maybe that's why they're kicking 7 possessions, 6 turnovers. Maybe that's why they're kicking it away. But I would think that BC would be content to run the clock out. They don't really need to score points. I would go ahead and gamble with this 3rd and 10.
Tony Hunter waits for the ball at the 40-yard line. He waited for a block. And when it appeared as though he was going to lose yards, he waited and turned it into an 11-yard return.
That's a good job. I mean, I thought he was just going to kind of give up there, and all of a sudden he just kind of hesitated long enough, picked that block up he wanted, and it took off. And so they got good field position, 2 minutes.
Joe Paopao now comes into the ball game with 2:19 remaining. Doug Flutie has done his job for the BC Lions, and Joe Paopao will clean up. Lorenzo Graham takes the toss and is stopped after a gain of about 4 yards.
Well, that was an excellent hit by Danny Bass. When you turn that toss inside, the middle linebacker should appear, and he did. That was a heck of a hit.
Danny Bass making the tackle.
2nd and 6 for the BC Lions.
5 lines on the play. Now at quarterback for the
Lions. Take a look at it. There, Hansen leads it. Graham turns inside. Number 30 is there to make the hit. Being blocked by Rocco Romano, but Bass fought right through it.
To Dennis for a first down.
That's experience speaking right here. See, Doug Flutie isn't used to this kind of game yet, but Joe Paopao is. He just takes that ball up, and if that receiver can get an inside release, that run to the inside shoulder of the defender, and he can slam that ball right down into that hole, Tony Dennis makes the catch.
Paopao started 4 games for the BC Lions this year, coming out of retirement to rejoin the playing ranks.
And having fun right now. He's really enjoying this season.
Ryan Hansen not going anywhere as Brett Williams put the grip on him. Doug Flutie on the sidelines enjoying things with 21 completions and 37 attempts. Very impressive numbers, 385 yards, 3 touchdowns, and only 1 interception. And that as a result of the ball being deflected at the line of scrimmage.
Yep. Now that one, you can't really blame that one. The ball's tipped, anything can happen.
1:12 is the time remaining, and this one is going to be intercepted. Come on! Jim Yox brings it back to the 40-yard line.
That's just an overthrow. Paopao threw it over top the receiver's head, right into Jim Yox's hands. He was just standing there waiting on it to come down.
Jim Yox, the son of former Edmonton Eskimo coach Ray Yox, who is now coaching at a small school in Iowa.
Yep.
Forward pass interference, Edmonton number 44, first down.
Oh.
However, that will not go into the statistical record as an interception for Jim Yox because there was pass interference charged against Jeff Braswell.
For that, you lose your feather.
1st and 10 BC on Eskimo 31.
And that feather has gone from the helmet of Jeff Braswell. It is 1st and 10 BC. The ball is at the 31-yard line with 1:01 remaining in the game. The pitch to Graham. Ryan Hansen trying to lead the way around the corner, but Graham opted to cut back inside.
He had nowhere to go. The Eskimos had read that one, and they were waiting for him.
Another penalty flag on the play.
Holding, BC number 55. First down.
Holding call against center Ian Sinclair. And that will bring the ball back. The BC Lions, under Bob Obilovich, will now improve their record to 3-2 since he took over as head coach.
First and 20, BC.
Overall, the BC Lion record is 5 wins, 10 losses, and a tie. Ryan Hansen trying to get outside. There was all sorts of movement at the line of scrimmage. And there's a penalty flag on the play again. Just 50 seconds remaining in the game. Mobilovic has to be pleased with the way his team has performed. Coming into this ball game as definite underdogs.
Procedure, BC number 67.
The hard thing on right
second
now
down.
is everybody would figure the BC Lions are out of the playoffs. You know, they got nothing to play for. That's wrong, see. You get a new coach take over, it brings in new enthusiasm. And let's face it, there certainly wasn't any fun in BC for the first 8 games or so of this year. Now they're having fun. Doug Flutie said that today. He said, we're actually having fun playing football. You know, football's supposed to be fun, and if you think it's a job, you better get out of it. And they're playing with nice enthusiasm, they're executing well, and they're building a pretty good foundation for next year.
Lorenzo Graham carries on second down and gets inside the 35-yard line with 29 seconds remaining. Third down play, and the BC Lions will line up in field goal formation.
Third and 14. BC on the Eskimo 35.
Injured member of the BC Lions, Jeff Braswell. He had started to head off to the Edmonton bench and then just suddenly dropped to the field. Now what happened here?
He's upset because someone took his feather. I mean, I don't... See, he's running off the field, so that's the only thing it could have been.
I am leaving that one alone.
Well, I don't know. I mean, he's ran off the field, so I mean, he's okay.
26 seconds remaining. The BC Lions in field goal formation. Stuart Hill suffered that injury in the first half of the ball game, and that is a blow to the Edmonton Eskimos.
You know, Stu Hill should be one of the leaders, too, of this Eskimo football club. And, you know, when you got to hope for him and the Eskimos that they can fit that on, whatever it is, whatever they finally decide, that they get a plastic cast on and he can play. He's a pretty valuable member of that club.
Integral member of their defensive unit. Martino at the field goal attempt. It's good.
All right. Off the post.
Off the post and through the uprights. And that improves the advantage the BC Lions enjoy to 30-8 with just 20 seconds remaining.
I'll take a little look at it. Watch it. Comes there, a little hook on the ball. Catch the side of it. Nothing to it.
That's the reaction at the BC bench.
You know, if you just look over that, they are having fun today. And that's good to see.
Steve Taylor throwing deep, and Jefferson knocks it away. Intended for Todd Smith. Jefferson went up high to knock it down just when it looked as though Smith was in the clear.
See, that's what a zone defense does. You know, they're sitting back a little bit. Just drop back deep. Let them appear to be open, and when the ball's in the air, just go get it. Jefferson, I have to be impressed with the way he's played today on the corner. He's done a good job. I know Bob O'Bilvey said he's a little concerned about the rest of his defense, you know, outside of the linebackers, but they've done a good job for him today.
13 seconds remaining, sideline pattern, and the catch is made by Keith Wright with 9 seconds left in the clock. Did he get enough for a first down? Yes, he did.
First down, Eskimos. First and 10 on their own 45.
Talked about Norman Jefferson and the job he has done defensively for the BC Lions. There are a number of people who have played extremely well defensively today. Another sideline pass to Keith Wright with 4 seconds remaining.
I was looking at that Jefferson down. You know, I mean, he's listed at 5'10". Looks a little taller than that to me. Got good size for a corner. He jumps well. He hits well. Got to be pleased with him. I think Lonnie Finch passed the test today. You know, rookie. They're going to test him.
And that should be the final play of the ball game. An incomplete pass intended for Todd Smith. And the BC Lions hand the Edmonton Eskimos their 4th consecutive loss by a score of 30-8. So while Bob Obilovich and his BC Lions will not make the playoffs this year, they will certainly play the role of spoilers for teams that have designs on finishing in first place. Calgary and Edmonton, the Stampeders, now a point ahead of Edmonton in the battle for first in the West.